a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We back. Man, y'all already know what time it is, man.
Oh, you didn't know?
50-50.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show with PharoahNFL and the Severe Raider, the realest show for Raider Nation.
The perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
Make sure to clock in, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Man, y'all already know what time it is, man. It's the 50-50 Show. Myself, PharoahNFL, obviously my guy, the Severe Raider. The return of the 50-50 Show, man. You know, y'all know what it is, man. It's the off season. It's the off season schedule. You know, it's not going to be. It's not the regular season yet. But hey, we're back at it. We're gonna get back to it. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about. Man, we got to chop it up. We got to talk about the draft. We got to talk about minicamp that just happened. Obviously, everything that's going around the NFL, man, and in college football too, as well. Like, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Like, especially. I don't want to get. Well, I'm gonna wait till we get to flag on the play because we're gonna get to our flags on the play. Yeah. Mendoza, some Mendoza hate. You know, like hey, look, Mendoza just got drafted #1 overall, and there's still people kind of like whispering and talking about like I don't know if I would take Mendoza #1 because of X, Y, and Z, and we'll get into that conversation a little bit. But like I said, if you haven't already, we are going live on both our channels. Your first time joining us, definitely head over to both channels. And subscribe to the channel as well. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell so be notified when we go live. And then, hey, it's always good to anybody that's watching it on a replay. Make sure to leave a comment. And there's this new thing where you could hype a video. So if you have that available to you, you can see the hype button. Definitely click on that hype button. It really helps out a lot with the algorithm, all that good stuff. I got to get that out. Every so often I'm gonna say it just to remind y'all, because sometimes y'all forget, man. Y'all chilling, y'all just want to just talk about the Raiders. Chop it up. We see you on the chat. We see everybody, the night crew in the building, Space Beast in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. My guy, what's good? What's good? Man, we got Manuel in the building. What's good, man? Appreciate you coming through. TK, what's up, bro? Appreciate you coming through. Good. Man, hey, we're gonna talk about it. I know, Anthony. I know, but yeah, we're working on it, man. We're working on it, man. I'm just gonna. What's good, Anthony? Appreciate you coming through. So I guess let's just start with, because I haven't really had a chance to talk about the draft. I think that's the last time we actually were on air. Was right before the draft. So, and you were at the draft, Severe. I mean, that was dope. Yeah. I know you probably seen a lot of good people. Were able to see everything live and in person. How was the whole experience, by the way? It was cool.
It was smooth, man. Yeah, it was smooth, man. Pittsburgh was cool. It was cool to go to a different city, experience it, man. Obviously, night one went basically how everyone expected it to go. Fernando Mendoza. So it was cool to be there actually for that to happen. But then the next day, everybody was loving it. Like, man, they really happy for the Raiders, man. You guys got yourselves a quarterback. You got yourselves the whole city was every time we be walking around a Raiders hat or Raiders gear on. Me, Chris, 805. And they was dapping us up like, hey man, I'm happy for you guys. You guys got you guys a quarterback now, man. Hope you guys have a good year. Right. So it was like, yeah, man. Me, I'm in the sideline, man. Like F all y'all, hear this nonsense. But it was fun, man. Met up with Jeff. Jeff has a channel. Met up with Dante. And this boy, I always forget his boy's name, but both from Gridiron Apex, was able to link up with them day 2 and day 3. Day 2 we was at Heinz Field. I forget what it's called now. Accra Shore Stadium, some weird stuff now. But watched day 2 there, and then day 3 we all linked up at a bar and just chilled and watched the draft there, man. So it was cool, man. It was cool. At the time. Yeah, I was extremely upset, man. But we'll kind of get into it a little bit later.
Okay, all right. So the return of the Echo is upon us right now. So let me see if I could fix this problem. Hold on. All right. Let me know. So the echo, is the echo coming from me or only Severe?
Probably from me. It's usually from me.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's saying echo.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. Man, screw you.
Now it's times 10. They say you just boosted the echo more.
Oh, it's times 10. Okay.
That's it.
All right, how about now?
Let us know. Check. It's probably still here because I just heard a little bit beforehand.
Oh, it's fixed? It's good now?
For sure.
All right,
okay,
cool.
Bet.
Cool.
All right. Cool. So, yeah, right. Man, it was cool. That was cool. Linking up with everybody. Chris, 805, Myra G was there.
Yeah.
Like I said, Jeff was there. Dante from East Coast Gridiron Apex was there. It was solid. It was solid, man. My first time ever going to a draft, man. So yeah, I'm gonna try to go to more in the future.
Oh man, that's what's up, man. Hopefully they bring it back to Vegas, because I feel like the setup in Vegas is just too perfect for huge events, big events. That's why they have all types of conferences over there, festivals and things like that, big events over there, because it's just perfect, man. So yeah, good. All right, the audio is good. That's good. All right, cool. Now, obviously you were at the draft. Like the Raiders, they went ahead and made the obvious pick, number 1 overall. Now, everything after that number 1 pick, that's from the second round, obviously to the end of the draft. For me personally, I'll just start off by saying that like there were a couple of surprises. I mean, you knew I was a Traydon Stukes guy from day one. Yeah. Now, if we were going according to PFF's big board, because we were doing a lot of mock draft simulators with Traydon, and Traydon was projected to go in the second round, even in their big board, but more toward the latter half of the second round. You could make an argument and be like, well, the Raiders could have traded down, but to be honest with you, that entire draft was weird. There was players getting drafted. They were blocking tight ends. What was that, Texas A&M tight end? I think he got drafted in like the second round.
I think the Jaguars drafted him.
Like,
I think they were the draft. Yeah.
Man, it was crazy draft picks from all types of different teams. But it should tell you a lot about how, look, we can look at all these mock drafts. We can do all these mock drafts all we want. But these teams, they have their separate big board. But I thought this year it was I don't know. It just felt like a little bit, their big board was a lot different than anybody else. And I think that that you should probably take that into account when probably judging the draft a little bit, because some of these guys that like, even there's some, like for example, Jalen Kilgore, I wanted him like later on in the draft. He was available like in the 6th or 5th round. I'm like, hey man, like Jeremy Chin is on his last year's deal. Polamalu is on his, is this his last year under contract with the Raiders? Yeah. We might be able to get our starting future safeties right now, but I guess the Raiders were higher on other guys in the draft, and they obviously went with I think Dalton Johnson might be a future guy that's going to start on his defense, possibly. We'll see. Look, he's played every position, every because I know I think that's everybody's pick where they're like I think it started in the 3rd round with Crawford. We were like, oh, who's Crawford? And but then Crawford kind of grew on me because I could see what they were trying to do. They obviously got rid of Tyree. You got Kuntz on the last year of his deal. And then are we confident in saying that, Max is not gone, by the trade deadline? So I'm sure they're thinking about edge more than we would like, more than what we were thinking about. They were thinking edge just because they knew that it was going to be an obvious position of need because they knew that Tyree was not going to be in their future. They knew that all these other guys on this team were not going to be on their future. I'm going to tell you. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. The second round, Traydon, that was my guy day one. So I wasn't mad at it. Like hindsight, you look back, I'm like, man, I wish we could have did a little bit another trade down. But who's to say that he would have been gone? Who's to say that he wouldn't have been drafted? So to me, you get a starter in the secondary day one. The only bad thing you can really say about him is the fact that he's like 25 years old, but he's a 25-year-old on a cheap contract. That's exactly what you wanted. Like if you go into free agency, you're looking for 25-year-olds, even though the likelihood of them being available is slim to none because those guys either get franchised, they get extended. But if they are available, those are the guys that get the bag. And the Raiders get a 25-year-old in the second round and plug-and-play starter. And the thing is, it's not a plug-and-play starter where, we're getting a guy that's like, athletically speaking, is like, he's on a low end. Like, we're talking, he's probably one of the most athletic players on a football team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but this is a football team that has a serious lack of high-level athleticism. So, I mean, but I would say, but the Traydon pick, I was happy for you. I was like, oh man, Pharaoh's guy. Oh my god, man, let me hit my guy Pharaoh up. And then after I hit you up, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing, bro? Like, we had Caden McDonald, first round talent for sure, at a position of need that you could argue is just as much of a need in terms of, all the guys playing, like we always talk about, we don't have a true nose tackle. You know, like, and I would throw out Adam Butler. He like, and I was like, you know, Adam Butler can do it. But you know, nobody really wants Adam Butler at the nose tackle. You know, I'm comfortable with it, but I was cool with a young upgrade and the guy that, you know, who's a physical specimen, plays the game the right way from a program that's produced really good defensive linemen in the past. So I'm like, good. Hey, go with that. Or, you know, even if you don't like Caden McDonald, a lot of people like Lee Hunter. Or if you don't like Lee Hunter, a lot of people like Denzel Boston. There was like just a plethora of guys that you could have made a strong justification, especially even more so if you look at how the safeties fell or how the safeties were drafted, because there was the safeties. First of all, it was a deep safety class, and that's something, you know, we had already kind of acknowledged. This is a very deep safety class. So the fact that we drafted a safety early in a deep safety class where we passed up some premier talent, a guy that's older, had an ACL in 2024. It's like, it was just a lot of stuff. I'm just like it's, I didn't hate him as a player per se, but I didn't think that was the right pick. Like, looking at it from Spytek's point of view, you're looking for, hey, you know what? It's team leader, athletic. We need some safeties. Bam. Okay, he's gonna come in here. He's gonna be mature, be a good locker room guy. I can understand that. But if you look at everything else, so look at him as in a vacuum as an individual. I don't hate him as a prospect, but just looking at the value and what the team actually needs and what was on the board and what would end up being available later, I seriously got to question that pick.
Okay, so who was on the board? So obviously Caden McDonald's the guy that you mentioned, but Caden McDonald's a nose tackle, and what we found out is that the Raiders weren't high on that position, and not every position is going to be also filled in one draft and one offseason. We all knew that, right? We just kind of went into it thinking like, oh, they're going to grab a receiver. Oh, they're going to grab someone in the trenches, like an D line, grab a nose tackle. But the reality is that how often are the Raiders going to be in a base 3-4 defense? What did Max Crosby coming back change everything? Maybe Max Crosby coming back kind of changed everything as far as how they were going to address that nose tackle position. Now you bring it back Max back in. Now you got two run stopping, you know, edge players in Kwity Paye and Max, and then you probably have a role playing players in the middle. You know, you got Adam Butler, and then you got like JJ Pegues nose tackle. Hemingway, he was a kind of tweener, but more of a 3 technique. Not known as a run stuffer, but you add guys like Gary Smith. Do they make the team? We'll see. But then they added Brandon Cleveland in the 7th. Kind of known for being good at one thing, and it's stopping the run, but not giving you too much from a pass rush perspective. But guess what? Caden McDonald was not going to give you anything in the pass rush anyways. Now, did he have potential to possibly?
He offered upside that those guys don't have. They offered way, because like, but that's like saying Treydon Stukes not going to give you much in a run game. And Treydon Stukes played a lot of nickel. He didn't really make an impact in the run game as a nickel with Arizona. So it's like, you know, by that same token, we could say, okay, well, you know, like, if he's going to play a nickel, he has to be an impact defender in the run game, because that's part of being a nickel. He didn't do that at Arizona. Was he a ball hawk? Get a lot of ball production? Yeah, he did. But you know, if you're going to be a nickel defender in the NFL, you got to make an impact in the run game.
Yeah, but he wasn't a guy that, like, I looked at as that was afraid to come down and make the tackle, or I didn't look at him as a bad tackler.
It's not
even about afraid, but I'm saying you're making it seem like you can't tackle.
When somebody says I'm not afraid of you, my answer is always, you don't got to be afraid to get your ass whipped. You can be a willing tackler. That don't mean you're good at it. You know, you could be a willing blocker. Well, that doesn't mean you're good at it. So it's not about being willing. Oh, he's not afraid to come. Okay, he can not be afraid all he wants to. That don't mean he ain't gonna miss the tackle.
Yeah, but he's played pretty much every spot in the secondary. Now look, go back to the second round, right? Spytek has shown us a little bit in his 2 years that he's been a general manager. And we'll probably next year, if he's still here, you know, knowing the Raiders, you know, he never know. But if he's still here, then we'll be able to see more trends. But from what we're seeing is that when he gets to that second round, he doesn't want to take any risks. He wants to just get a plug-and-play player. He wants to just get a plug-and-play player. Jag Besh was supposed to be that. Exactly. Was he that? No, he was not, because for a lot of different reasons. Yeah. You can question, was he good enough? You can question, was the transition hard for him? You can question that coaching staff and their decision-making. There's a lot of things that went wrong that first year. But Jag Besh, when he got drafted, was a guy that was like, hey, he's a guy that can contribute right away. Now you get, fast forward, you get Treydon Stukes, another player where he's up there in age, but then he has versatility, plays every position in the secondary, and they get a guy that, like, they know what they're getting, and they're getting a plug-and-play player in the second. So when he gets to that second round, I don't think he wants to play. He doesn't want to take too much risk. Now, an example of this on the opposite end of the spectrum, y'all remember Reggie McKenzie. Reggie McKenzie, he went for the traits in the second round. Good or bad. Sometimes it worked out. Sometimes it missed. You missed terribly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what? Obi Melifonwu.
PJ Hall, Obi Melifonwu. Was I think Jihad Ward.
Jihad Ward kind of blew. He's had a long career.
He was a late bloomer.
Late bloomer.
You know, Mario Edwards Jr. I think was a third. I think Mario Jr. He might have been a second. I think he was a third. But yeah, But yeah, like I said, in terms of prospects, I like Treydon Stukes. Like I said, in a vacuum, I don't hate Treydon Stukes as a player. Just that but people always like, the draft is not all about finding good players. That's a big part of it, but it's finding good players at the correct spots. So perfect example. Let's say this was the year we drafted Tyree Wilson, right? Not Tyree Wilson. We drafted Cleve Farrell. Let's say we drafted Max Crosby in the first round, and Max Crosby turns into what he is now. Would that be a bad pick? Yes, it's still a bad pick. Know why it's still a bad pick? Because in hindsight, Max was available in the fourth. That means you lost 3 rounds of value. So you missed on 3 opportunities to improve your team with other players and still get a guy like Max that you thought, like, you know what, this guy can be good. So he'd still be a good player, but you would still say you lost 3 rounds of value because you could have selected him later. And that's the thing with Treydon, where Treydon was a late riser. Like through most of the process, Treydon was in a second round pick.
Right.
You know, at his interviews and I think his athletic testing is what pushed him up boards. So what that tells me is that it wasn't necessarily the tape that teams loved. It was the character, and it was backed up by some of the athletic traits that they were like.
It was everything. It was everything, right? It was everything.
But he was a late riser. That's my point. He was a late riser. So they didn't look at the tape and say, "Oh, this guy's a second round pick." They looked at the tape and said, "Hey, we put him on our radar." And then the character stuff and then athletic testing kind of said, "Okay, bam, we like the combination of all 3." Maybe the tape wasn't everything we wanted to, but we feel if we get him in our building, get him with our coaches, with the kind of character he is, the kind of athlete he is, we think he can be a phenomenal player or whatever, right? So
right.
Like I said, I still think we lost value on that pick, and on, like I said, several other positions that I felt were, I don't want to say a higher priority, but the way this safety class was, we had already said this is a super deep safety class. I think there are guys available later on that could play that role and play that role just as effectively. Kamari Ramsey went in the fourth.
There was Kamari Ramsey. Then who else? But look. A guy that Raider Nation loved. Everybody talked. Guy that we were drafting in the 4th round in our mock draft. And there were some other guys. Don't get me wrong. It was Ramsey. There was that safety from Penn State. I think that went a little bit later too. But my thing is this. I started off by saying that this draft was weird. And but to make a point here, I'm trying to also say that teams have their own big boards, and part of them evaluating the draft and the prospects is they have to evaluate what other teams and their needs and who they would probably pick, the players they pick. So then they have to make sure when they make trade downs and they target players, because they're going to have their own big board. Who's to say that, like, if the Raiders traded all the way down to the back into the second or into the third or wherever the case may be, and they wanted to get trade on, that he wasn't going to get drafted. So I think like you just said, you mentioned that he might have been a late riser, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like, we've seen big boards where he was getting taken in the second. Raiders didn't want to take that risk, especially because they were high on him. It wasn't like a situation where, like, oh, what do we do? We're fumbling. Like, there was other players on the board. Like, they could have drafted Caden McDonald, Denzel Boston, or whatever the case may be, but they weren't high on him the same way they were with Traydon Stukes. And I'll say this too. Looking like at the time, when you going through the draft, you're like, man, like, why did they should have went this route? But they kind of went into the draft. I don't know if they went into the mindset their mindset was like, we're going to upgrade this defense, specifically the secondary, and maybe we might grab offensive lineman in there, probably throwing an offensive lineman, maybe grab a running back. To me, I liked how I'm a little bit higher on the draft than a lot of people, I guess. And it's
because the consensus on the draft, a lot of people love the draft. I mean, a lot
no. But I'm just saying, like, because I've seen people kind of like, oh, what were the Raiders thinking? Because you can make a point. Because let's move on to the third round. You can make, when Crawford was taken, I was like, man, like, that was, bro. You had Zachariah Branch on the board. You had a few players on the board.
Ted Hurst on the board.
Ted Hurst was on the board. There's a few receivers on the board. There's different positions.
Pregnon was still there, depending on how you feel about Pregnon. Pregnon was still on the board at that time.
Pregnon was there in the latter half of the third round, where they could have easily traded up and got him. And maybe that was their plan. I don't know if that was their plan, but it seems like Trey Zoom was the guy they targeted, because if he kind of fits exactly what they're looking for at offensive line. Yeah. But I was surprised by Trey's Pregnon dropping. I was like what? Like, that was a guy that was going projected in the first, for the most part in the second. He dropped all the way to the back end of that third round, but almost kind of went into the fourth. But someone ended up taking him. But Crawford that's where you can make the argument that you're trying to make for Stukes, because I think Stukes is a way better player than Crawford right now. So like. So we know what we're getting on top of, like, the athleticism that he's going to add to the team, the back, that secondary. We know he's going to start. We know like, hey, boom. If it doesn't work out, then damn, like, everybody's going to be like a little bit surprised if that doesn't work out. But Crawford is a little bit of like where you can start. I don't know, like, we could have went a different position, but look, the Raiders, once again, they felt like they had a bigger need in on defense, especially at edge, and they made that trade later on that day, or probably the following day, with Tyree Wilson getting traded. Obviously, Snowden was recently released. I don't know what that could mean. That means, I don't know if maybe Snowden asked for it or it was a mutual thing. But at the end of the day, like, the Raiders feel like they needed an edge, and if you think about it, well, it could be a chess move in that, like, Kuntz is on a 1-year deal. Max can get possibly traded. So, and edge, you over here sending me Colin Simmons film. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sending you Dylan Stewart film. I'm like, hey, maybe taking an edge in the first round might be some of the Raiders might be looking into if they get a top 10, top 15, where, I mean, those guys probably going to go like within the top 10. Yeah, for sure, top 10. But, so maybe taking an edge in the top 10, which is a position that Spytek has been outspoken how he's high on. So he's going to be high on those guys, whether it's the trenches, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's defensive line. In this case, like, if we lose Max, you could kind of like pencil that in a little bit, like, oh yeah, the Raiders are probably going to attack that position early. So maybe they're getting ahead of it. But that's a position where what you said about Stukes and how you looked at that whole pick is how kind of I feel a little bit about Crawford. Not that I hate the player. It's just like, maybe they could have went a different route. Maybe there could have been a better player there that they could have took at that spot. Because at least it was a trade down and they got a pick out of it. They got another third round. Well, they moved up into third.
Yeah. It was Stooks. Stooks was a trade down. Yeah. And then Crawford was just, yeah. I saw brother, the Crawford pick, but that one threw me.
Yeah.
That one, like, I was already like off of the Stooks pick. I was already like, man, I don't know about that one. I was like, I don't know about this pick. But all right, man, you know what? Hey, there's still plenty of time to go, man. Hey, still plenty of guys left on the board. Let's buy Tech Cook, and then he come right back and with Crawford. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I know everybody loves to say that, oh, you know, he was better than Keldrick Falk but I was like, bro, but first of all, part of the reason why people were high on Keldrick Falk was because his upside and because some of the traits that they see there with them. And I say not like Crawford is a bad athlete, but you know, he's a little bit on the smaller side for an edge. He was semi-productive, but not like he was like super productive. He offers you nothing in the run game. So right now he's probably, you know, at best a rotational pass rusher. And when I'm drafting in the third round, like I want guys that are for sure starters or for sure rotational pieces, right? For like without a doubt. And right now, you know, with the players we have currently on the roster, is it not without a doubt that Crawford is going to be a rotational piece? It's likely. I think they kind of cleared the way for him with obviously the trade of Tyree and release of Snowden. So that increases the likelihood that he will be a rotational piece. But just like looking at him as a prospect, just in a vacuum, like, is he a guy that I would say for sure that's a rotational pass rusher right now? Not really. You know, by virtue of what we have now on the roster and what they've done to clear the way for him, he likely will be. And how he performs in that role, that remains to be seen.
Yeah. But I'm not mad at it. I can see, I mean, he was way more productive than his teammate in the guy Keldrick Falk. He got drafted in the first round.
Remember Keldrick Falk, the dude I told you was ass. Told you I did not like him. I did not like him. Remember, these people was like, oh man, this dude Keldrick Falk. I was like, bro, this dude is ass.
Was he look like Tarzan, play like Jane? Is he look like Tarzan, play like Jane?
Same thing I said about Michael Williams last year. People were Michael Williams. I was like, man, Michael Williams is garbage. It's
right.
like it's another Tyree situation where it's like, you know, it's traits. They looking at, oh, this guy got long arms and he's 6 something and this and that. But like, bro, how are you performing on the field? So
yeah.
So it's like I said, it's another.
I do like that, like, cause he was a guy like I wasn't even like looking at, to be honest with you. In the third, I wasn't even looking at like Crawford in the third round. It wasn't like someone that was on my radar like that. So for him, I had to like kind of look into him and see like, all right, what type of player he is. And I will say that it's kind of impressive that he was able to be like an effective pass rusher, especially because the way they used him, they kind of used him all over. You know what I mean? Like they had him in pass covers, they had him rushing the passer. They're kind of like, so I want to see what it looks like where you kind of like have him hone in on getting after the passer and like getting after it. So I want to see what that looks like, but we'll see.
We can't use him too much. You know, he need a day off. So he use too much. I mean, one thing I will say is that, you know, he does have, you know, if we're going to be running a 3-4 a lot, he does have experience as a stand-up pass rusher, you know, rushing from different areas. So that's one thing he does have some experience doing. Obviously, he played in the SEC. So, you know, it's the cream of the crop in terms of college football. So
right.
Hoping you know, he's able to translate to the league. But that's another pick that's like, bro, like, what? Like what? Like what?
Yeah. So that's where the argument you made about Stooks, that's how I kind of felt at that third round. 'Cause I was like, all right, this is where you can probably take a Ted Hurst or you know, Zachariah Branch or, you know, fill in the blank another player at another spot. But because to just like back up what I was talking about with about Stooks and how they felt like he was probably going to get taken if they try to trade down again or go down maybe even further from, at least because I think they dropped only 2 spots from where they originally were slotted to draft.
36 to 38.
Everybody's the favorite pick at safety, free safety, got drafted. Literally a few picks later, or in the second, I think, because everybody thought he was going to go in the 4th. Or I mean, when we were doing our mocks, everybody was thinking like, oh, he's gonna be gone in the 4th, maybe the 3rd. I'm trying to think of his name. Out of TC, was it TCU or Toledo? TCU.
Oh,
safety.
Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
He was available too, which I thought that was interesting too. But they were higher on Stooks, which I wasn't mad at. You know what I mean? I wasn't mad at.
I'm not mad at because the versatility. Like I said, like in a vacuum, as a prospect, I don't hate, but just like I said, just the value.
No, I'm talking about the other safety, the ball hawk safety, probably the biggest.
Bud Clark.
Yeah, Bud Clark. He was taken in the 2nd, I think.
Yeah.
I believe he was taken in the 2nd by Seattle. I know Seattle took him either in the 2nd or 3rd, higher than where we were looking finding him. Like, you know, guys like because usually when we were doing our mocks and like we were seeing guys being available like in the 4th, and there were guys that were available in the 4th. You mentioned
T. Wheatley, I think. Amari Ramsey, I think, was available. There was some guys that were available.
Yeah.
I don't remember when Kilgore went, but yeah, it was some guys that were available late.
Yeah. Yeah, Bud Clark. Yeah, appreciate it, Bud Clark. So when I seen that happen, that kind of told me a lot about like, all right, how teams kind of viewed some of the safeties and where they had them up. So you could see where the Raiders were like, they did their due diligence. They're like, hey, look, if we wait until the 3rd, the guys that we were high on are probably not going to be there. Bud Clark was going to be gone. Guys like Stooks were going to be gone. Now you're kind of rolling the dice in a position where they wanted to target. Literally, Spytech before the draft was like, that safety's a position that we're going to have to attack. And guess what they did? They literally kind of told everybody what they were going to do, and they did it in the 2nd round, and they drafted Tre'Davious Stooks. Then they drafted Clark, which obviously was a surprise to some people, but that's kind of grown up. That's a wait and see. I want to see what it looks like, but I can see where, okay, there might be something there. You know what I mean? It's not, the only thing is that he didn't have any athletic testing, but he looked like he was he looks like he's athletic, super athletic as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Now after that, there was Trey Zoon.
Yeah.
Trey Zoon, I'm not mad at addressing the offensive line, but I was kind of heated that they didn't go after Pregnon. Because Pregnon was lit.
Like 2 picks right before us, I want to say. 2 picks before, I want to say.
And you know, if the Raiders wanted Pregnon, they would have got him.
Exactly. They would have moved up. Yeah.
So what told me was that they weren't really high on Pregnon like that. Zune was a guy that they targeted, most likely.
Yeah.
Or they were good with both. It was like,
Probably that situation.
And something that's coming up with Spytech is like you got to just look up the RAS scores. Like, hey, whoever got the high RAS scores is most likely going to be a target for the Raiders.
Unless you play wide receiver at TCU, then all bets are off.
True.
All bets are off. Or unless you have no athletic testing done at all, we still gonna draft you at a position that's not of value in the 1st round with no testing at all, no whatsoever. We're hiding my athleticism, but I'm still going to. So unless you're in those 2 guys, everybody else, yeah.
I'm telling you, he gets into the 2nd round and he's going to be the most conservative guy. He's going to look for like, who's going to come in and play right now? I know what I'm going to get from you. I'm telling you, it's like with McKenzie, it was like he went after those guys with like super high upside, you know, super traits. You're kind of betting on their potential. But Spytech, he wants to get the plug and play guys. The guys that with high upside, he starts taking a risk in the 4th round. So Trey Zoon, is, like we mentioned, is a high RAS guy. Like he's super athletic, fits in with that scheme. So I have no problem with Trey Zoon, to be honest with you, because guess what? The Raiders have the coaching staff to develop that talent. We got a good offensive line coach. We got obviously an offensive head coach who knows what players would fit in his scheme. So with Zune, I'm kind of like, okay. And the fact that he's played all positions throughout the offensive line, like almost every guard, tackle, center, I mean, that gotta be like a big plus for him. But I mean, where do you see him at? Because obviously I think they have him slotted at guard, but do you see? Because I've heard something where some people are saying that he could possibly. Vinny said something to the effect that he might be in the competition in that right tackle room.
Possibly. I mean, they announced him at guard, so I think they have every intention of him playing guard. When he drafted Trey Zoon, I was done. I was done with the draft. I was like, bro, what the hell are we doing? But I looked at Trey Zoon, did some more studying, watched him, and I actually like that pick. I'm like, okay, cool. He's a solid guard. A lot of experience. Played offers you some versatility. So if you have him on the active roster on game day, you don't need to carry as many offensive lines. He's a guy that has experience playing all those different spots, so he does a little bit for you there as well. Played some tackle. I think Ruben Baines said he was the toughest tackle that he played against. In all the college football last year. So that's high praise from him. My only issue is that he doesn't really have the arm length, or really, like, in my opinion, the kick slide to play tackle, and he right now he doesn't have the strength or the tenacity. I don't want to say tenacity, like the nastiness to play guard right now. He needs to add some strength to play guard consistently. But is he a guy that, obviously, he's a rookie right now, so that's something that will come. And I don't think he'll be forced into duty early on, or hopefully he's not forced into duty early on. But so we can allow him to kind of develop a little bit more. But he's a guy that he seems like an intelligent football player. And like I said, he's a guy that offers a lot of versatility on the offensive line. So I'm not mad to pick it off.
My guy Dante says Zoon has never played guard and only one snap at center. So Zoon was actually a center, one of the center prospects. I think he was listed as a center in the draft. So I don't know if that's where the NFL sees him at because of him having short arms. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when guys are got short arms at tackle, they try to project him in a different position possibly. But I'm looking at Zoon as a guy at guard. I would think, and then kind of. I would think it would be Glaze and Grant, but the way Vinny was kind of breaking it down, like he kind of flipped it. So Vinny went out his way to say that left guard spot the left guard spot will be like Rodgers, and he threw in Grant's name at that guard spot. So Grant could be a possible left guard. You know what I mean? Even though I would want him at tackle, it would be tough. But I don't know. Vinny kind of flipped it a little bit. I was like, is he hearing stuff that I'm like that we are kind of not? That we are? Because I would think that Charles Grant would be in competition with DJ Glaze. Yeah. And then Trey Zoon and maybe Kayla Rogers and Meredith would be like, all right, those would be the guys that be in the mix for that left guard spot. But he made it seem like Charles Grant, you shouldn't rule him out for that guard spot as well. And I'm like, oh, okay. Is this something that he's hearing from the Raiders building or something? So I thought that was interesting. I mean, you take it for whatever it's worth.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
I know.
My only thought is that maybe he's confusing Caleb Rogers with Charles Grant. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. But the thing is, though, I think the Raiders have a good problem. Like right now, they don't have, I want to say they have like a concrete answer of who is going to be the starting like players within like three positions off the line. But the thing is, though, there's a lot of players where you can probably project and say like, hey, you know what? Maybe that can work. It's not a situation where like there's no answers. Like you got a young talent that you drafted in the third round last year in Caleb Rogers. Then you got Charles Grant, same thing. Small school tackle that you were obviously high on, that Raiders ended up drafting, and got some traits there that possibly could maybe work out at tackle.
But the only thing is that, well, first of all, somebody asked the question to Vinny, he's like, who's the starting offensive line? He's like, well, Colton Miller, left tackle, and then you get, it was like, come on, dog. What are you doing? But the only problem I have with that is that the fact that we have, if you don't like, it's like, you know what, when they say about quarterbacks, it's like if you have two quarterbacks, that means you don't have a quarterback. And it's kind of the same situation where like we got a lot of guys at these spots, but that kind of no, that can be a double-edged sword where, okay, we have all these guys at these spots, but that also means like, no, we have a lot of guys that are possible answers, but it also means we have still a lot of questions at these spots also. So
for sure,
like, so we're hoping that, we have some talent there. We have much better coaching staff right now. We're hoping that those guys can kind of develop or identify the correct players at those particular spots. And we got some young dudes to do it. Zoom, we got Rogers, we got Glaze, we got Grant. Hell, Dalton Wagner's still on the roster, right? Like we got guys that are still like here that, hopefully the coaching staff says, yes, this is the guy, this is the future at that position. This is who we're going to run with. And one of those guys, it could be Zoom. One of those guys could be. I wouldn't be surprised if we started, because like I said, Glaze didn't necessarily didn't knock our socks off last year with his play at right tackle. The guard spot is up for grabs. We talked about the Kappa pickup last offseason about how bad it was, and people tried to say, "Oh, what are you talking?" The Spytek knows him and yada. But now he doesn't have an NFL home anymore. We'll see what they feel about JPJ. We have no idea what they feel about JPJ. Pete Carroll seemed to hate him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But we don't know if maybe that was a call from upstairs. It was Spytek, like, I don't like this guy. And Spytek is a guy that I think Spytek, when he's in Tampa Bay, they needed a center. Spytek passed on him. And so maybe he still doesn't like him as a prospect to this day. So that remains to be seen. So we could have 2 open guard spots and a right tackle spot, left up for grabs.
Yeah, we'll see. That'd be crazy if we're still dealing with JPJ not being in the mix. I think he's the starting right guard to me, but we'll see. We'll see. I hope he starts at one of the guard spots. I don't care what guard spot it is. I hope he starts at one of the guard spots. Yeah,
but
man.
We don't know what.
Just let him stay at one position. Like you had him. All right, you moved him right guard. All right, cool. Let him stay there and let him, like, because the more you change him to different positions, the worse it's gonna get. But yeah, I don't feel as bad about the offensive line as I did like the last few years. Last few years, it was like no hope. I was like, oh man, like I was looking at one spot. I'm like, damn, like Alex Kappa. Ugh. Like the year before, who was it? You know what I mean? Like it was just, there was always one guy. Now it's just like, all right, I know that there's questions on who the final starters will be, but then there's some intriguing players like where you could be like, oh man, Cale Rogers might have a good offseason. He might take the spot. Or maybe Meredith, who played well at guard. Meredith could probably, take one of the guard spots. Maybe take that left guard spot. Yep. And then Charles Grant, made DJ Glaze kind of like with better coaching, because coaching is, look, the Raiders haven't had really good coaching at that offensive line spot. So like now they get a legit, respected offensive line coach. Maybe Glaze looks better at right tackle. Maybe Grant kind of like is a guy that takes a hold of that position because he has all the tools and traits, right? But my thing is that like at the end of the day, if you look around the league, that tackle spot is around the league, it's filled with like first round picks. These are guys that you take early. So, but there's plenty of guys around the league where you see, oh, that was a second round guy. That was a third round. That was a fourth round guy in the offensive line. And they're playing well. Good players. But when we get to the tackle spots, those guys usually tend to get taken in first round. I mean, Colt Miller's been the starting left tackle for how many years now? He's drafted in the first round, right? Like what? Like 2018, I believe, was when he was drafted, right?
Yeah, my
2018. That might have been McKenzie's last pick or last first rounder.
Last first round pick, yeah. First round pick, yeah.
So, look, the Raiders might end up taking a tackle next year. Like I know everybody's like, oh, wide receiver, which is obvious. Like that's a big one, but like, man, if you got a legit like can't miss blue chip prospect at right tackle coming out, like, do the Raiders say no? I mean, I guess they're gonna find out after this year and how the offensive line goes and like see how well they play and because in the beginning, you know what's gonna happen, right? It's gonna be, are you prepared? Do you see like there's gonna be an adjustment period with the offensive line, gelling and like kind of getting this scheme down? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. I mean,
Because we don't know who the starting offensive line is.
exactly, and
So-
that's the thing is like, because the thing about that is that like the offensive line, it's so much of that is chemistry and cohesiveness and guys playing together, and so like that's the worry. I mean, and to your point, how you said about JPJ, right, where you don't want to keep moving him around, where it's like you want him to get used to one spot and understand and know and have confidence in the guy to the left and to the right of him if he's playing guard, right? Like that's what you want. So you kind of want to build that chemistry. And in a system where we want to run the ball a lot, like it's very important that these offensive linemen, like they're productive. And they're all on the same page. So it's especially in the zone scheme where that's like that's almost more important than like individual prowess at any given position. So like we got to lock this offensive line down.
Yeah. So Zune getting taken at the end of day 2, I was kind of like, ugh, because I think you know what it was, or at least for me, I was thinking that the Raiders were going to go a completely different direction, and I wasn't really mad at how they attacked the draft, because when you look at it from they went ahead and were like, nah, we need to address this defense, and we need to address the secondary, which I'm not mad at it. They weren't trying to play the middle game, meaning that like, oh, let's try to, address every position on the team. You know what I mean? Every need in different parts of the team. Like they had a plan to go after to upgrade the defense, specifically the secondary, especially because we're about to talk about day 3, because they went ahead and grabbed a couple of guys that I know you were high on. But I think that like that's the thing, because now I know what the plan of attack is next year, because now this is where the fun position is going to get drafted. Because Mendoza,
we want to know.
I'm just saying the reason why I'm saying that is because look. The reason why I'm saying that is because Mendoza is probably going to be the starter year 2. He's going to be like, let's say if he didn't play this whole year, he's going to be, or he comes in at the end. Year 2, he's going to be the starter, right? Yeah. They're going to want to put weapons around him, and that's going to happen via free agency, but also the draft too could be a big possibility depending on where they're drafting at. And a perfect example of that is like, look at the Browns. I know Browns have been killing the draft last couple of years. Like they're on the high end of like how well they've been drafting. But this year, how they draft, like how they went ahead and got weapons on offense. Like literally, they got Denzel Boston was the receiver out of they got in the first round, I believe. Slot receiver. Jordan Tyson went to the Saints. I'm talking. It was the other guy that I was like, hey, if he's there, Concepcion, and you get Denzel Boston, and then you stack up the talent that you just got on offense, and like you're starting to see like, man, they had a whole plan to address and it wasn't just, you mentioned Jordan Tyson. He went to the Saints. The Saints also had that plan. They drafted a quarterback the year prior, and now it's like, all right. It's
quarterback in the second round.
Yeah, they drafted in the second round. But the thing is, though, they made sure they emphasize getting weapons around, around a quarterback, right? So they went ahead and got some pieces for him too. So I think that's what's going to happen next year. Is they're going to focus on probably getting weapons around Mendoza. This year was more of like, we need to get some depth. We need to get some players on defense. I'm sure they're going to probably address other positions, but the thing is, not every position is going to be addressed in one offseason. They just went ahead and they were like, you know what? And to be honest with you, it was kind of obvious because there were so many guys that like were on 1-year deals on defense. Yeah. Come on, they were going to have to get players on deep. Like they were going to have to address that side of the ball. And they did in free agency, but they went ahead and doubled down and they went ahead and just addressed the secondary as well. So the 4th round starts and they get Gerard McCoy, who was on the board. And I was like, man, when do the Raiders, I asked that question, when do the Raiders take a risk and go after McCoy? McCoy, arguably, if it wasn't for the injury, is the best cornerback in the draft. Yeah. He went in the top of the first. The Raiders went up. They actually guaranteed it by trading up to the top spot in the 4th round, and drafted him. When you hear his injury, man, it's kind of sad. He's 20 years old, and the type of injury, when you hear, what was it? I think it was like a knee.
Well, so it was, his original injury was an ACL injury, but then he had some issues with, I want to say it was like the cartilage. So basically, it's like that to do basically like a bone plug to kind of repair, to help repair the cartilage. And so it may need to be done again. That's the only issue, is that if that first surgery didn't go well, it may have to be done again. If it's done again, I think they say like it's like a 25% chance that he won't play football again, or something crazy like that. So, but like there's a chance that he may not need the surgery. Like that was also a possibility. So I don't know where they're leaning. I don't think they give him any indication, because when they talked to him the next day, I think he said, basically whatever the Raiders want to do, whether they want to let him play or whether they wanted him to have a surgery, like he's open to doing it either way. They had him out there like stretching. I think he was like fielding punts at one point. He didn't do any of the team stuff. I don't believe so, but like they let him like on the field. He ran a 4.38. Like
Ran
with this stuff going on.
38. So. There was a 38-inch vertical. Like
yeah.
So we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. It seems like everything's trending towards it's early, but everything's trending towards him playing. But you never know. Like the Raiders are still probably evaluating it, and if they feel like they need to do that surgery, that means he would have to miss this year, and then hopefully he comes back. Because if he doesn't come back, his career is pretty much, pretty much over. But going back to Spy Tech trends, Spy Tech likes to take boom or bust players starting in the 4th round.
Yeah.
So the year prior, who did they take in the 4th? They went ahead. Dante Thornton, boom or bust.
Another Tennessee guy. Ironically,
another Tennessee guy. But this time around, the Raiders get like a guy that's like legit. Like if it wasn't for injury, he would have went like in the 1st round. But if he's playing, like he's the starting corner, right? Like literally.
Oh, for sure.
Slot him in there. So Darian Porter probably goes to the bench. I'm thinking Stokes obviously just got paid. He's gonna be the other starter on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Then you got McCoy. Like now the secondary is kind of shaping up a little bit. Now you like if McCoy plays, this draft is a home run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not if he plays well. I mean, like this draft will hinge.
If he plays well, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. This draft will hinge largely on 2 players. It's going to be on Fernando Mendoza and Gerard McCoy. That's basically what the draft is going to hinge on.
I don't think it's going to hinge on that because look, when you look at a draft, all right, yeah. Obviously, if Mendoza is a bust, then obviously like everybody's gonna think about, oh man, Mendoza's a bust. They're not gonna think about like all the other players. Exactly. But like when you think of a good draft, when you look back at it, you start looking at the players and what they contributed. Oh, he's a starter. Oh man, he's another good player. He's another starter. Oh, that's what I mean. So if the Raiders are able to stack those types of guys, then that's how you build out the team and the depth on a football team.
That is true. That is true from a practical point, right? But from a practical point is not how things are usually viewed when looking at drafts. People look, it's like big picture stuff. So it's like if the Raiders miss out on Fernando Mendoza, if he's a bust, he's bad, unless they have another like just fantastic player later on in the draft, another Pro Bowl, all pro caliber player, the draft will be looked at badly. No matter, you can have 5 guys that play 10 years in the NFL. People will be like, yo, man, the Raiders, they swung and they missed terribly with that, with the 2026 draft, taking Mendoza number 1 overall. Like, that's what they'll remember. No matter what, unless, like I said, unless they get like another super high level player. And I think of all the guys we drafted, only one I would bet has the chance to be that kind of guy would be McCoy.
Well, yeah, they could
another guy do that. Yeah, but that's the only guy I would bet.
They could remember that, but if a lot of those guys are still around and playing well on the team, whether pro bowlers, starters, good depth players, then
if star level players, that's my point. It can't be just okay players or just, hey, this guy's a solid starter. It can't, because that doesn't erase whiffing on number 1 overall pick at quarterback. You can't erase a number 1 overall whiff at quarterback with hey man, you got a solid nickel and for solid free safety. No, bro, you got to be a star level player or a super plus level player in the league to erase that kind of stint.
No, because think about it. Look, I understand. If you miss on that first round pick, obviously, if you miss on any first round pick, but obviously it's the quarterback position, so everybody it's a lot bigger, right? But the Raiders had the number 1 pick. It's not like they traded up and got a quarterback. They had the number 1 pick. They had to take a quarterback. They take their swing at getting a guy. Hopefully it works out.
Take a quarterback.
No, they didn't have to, but come on, bro. They weren't not gonna take a quarterback. I don't think that wasn't gonna happen. I thought about trade downs during the season, but as soon as the offseason, as soon as the end of the season happened, I was like, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah,
it wasn't gonna happen. It was like I said before. I don't think Spytek has the I don't think he has a sack to do it. I don't think he has a sack to do it. He's not gonna take that chance of trading down, and then if Fernando Mendoza goes on to be a great quarterback, and the Raiders still don't have one, then obviously that falls squarely on his shoulders. So it would take a guy with a lot of heart, a lot of courage, and a lot of a lot of conviction in the trade down. If it wasn't in, and if it was a situation where there was another blue chip player in this draft class, maybe you do that. But there is not another blue chip player in this draft class, really. Fernando Mendoza was going to be the number 1 overall pick, no matter who was picking there. So I think at that point you say, you know what, we need a quarterback. He's a clean prospect. I'm gonna pull the trigger on it and hope it works out. Rather than it's kind of a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush situation. Look.
I know you're gonna say that everybody's gonna say that the draft is terrible if, let's say, if Mendoza, you're hypothetically speaking, Mendoza doesn't work out. But if everybody else,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the draft will be. Well, I'm saying the draft will be looked at as terrible. The Raiders just from a team building aspect, if the Raiders get 5-6, rotational guys or 5-6 guys they keep on the roster for a long time, in my opinion, that's a good draft. But it would not be looked at as a good draft because you whiffed on number 1 overall.
For sure, but that's kind of surface level a little bit, because now all right, let's say Mendoza doesn't work out, right? But then
optics are everything, bro. That's what you don't understand. Optics, that matters. That stuff matters. Optics are important. Perception is reality. So if your draft class is perceived as bad, they don't give a damn what the actuality is. Your draft class is bad. That's just how the world works.
Nah, what do you if a draft class is good, then it's good. If it's bad, then it's bad. I mean, if someone is walking by, I'm like, oh, Mendoza is a bust, oh, terrible draft class, then that's on them. That's how they feel. But they didn't really look into what the other draft picks that are playing well, that are
does research like that? Let me ask you, who looks into?
But you're talking about
research on anything.
But you're talking about regular fans, though. We're talking about a very specific person, though, man.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the annals of NFL history. Looking back, who's going to look back and say, well, man, they whiffed on, but man, you just see that the third round tackle they got out of A&M, and nobody's going to do that, bro.
No.
This works.
No, what I'm saying is this. Look. What I'm saying is, let's say, hypothetically speaking, right? Mendoza is a bust. I don't want that to happen. I'm gonna knock on wood. He's not gonna be a bust. What I'm saying is that, if that were to happen, and everybody else was pretty solid to good to, you know what I mean? Let's say, I don't know, maybe you if you don't want to throw in a great player in there, that's fine. But even if, let's say, Mendoza's a bust, that means the Raiders roster is good. So all they're missing is a quarterback. So now this is a position that the Raiders have never been in. I don't want to say never been in, but when's the last time have you said, all we need to do is plug in a quarterback and we're winning the Super Bowl, or we're going to be a playoff contender. We have never been in that position. It's been a while. I don't even remember the last time the Raiders have been in a position where you say, oh, we just need to plug in a quarterback and we'll be a playoff contender. Like, because I looked at the bigger picture and that was the team. The team itself wasn't good. Now, if we keep stacking good drafts, we're going to have a good roster. So it's only a matter of time. It's easier said to say it's only a matter of time, because getting a quarterback position right is the hardest thing in sports, right? Hardest thing in the NFL, right? So, but I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of people focus on that quarterback position and getting that right. I get it. It's the most important position in football. But the Raiders, when have the Raiders put out a good product on that football field where you're looking at that team and you're like, man, there's talent everywhere? When's the last time you seen that, Severe? I don't even remember the last time where I'm like looking at the Raiders. I'm like, bro, this team is deep. Like, we got a good defense. We can run the ball. We got receivers. Think about the Eagles. Like, when you look at the Eagles and you look at
2016 maybe.
Yeah.
2016 maybe.
2016, bro. Come on, it was Khalil Mack on defense and a bunch of, I'm be honest with you, role players. And they were and those guys were like, come on, like let's say.
But that's my point though, dog. That's my point, man. That's exactly my point. Exactly my point. Exactly my point, bro. If this class just produces a bunch of role players and a bust number one quarterback, bro, this is not gonna be.
But 2016 wasn't that though. It wasn't that.
But
we did not have a.
You just said this had talent everywhere. But
2016 had talent everywhere.
No, but that's my point. You said it was a bunch of role players. And my point is that if this draft class just produces a bunch of role players and a bust at number one quarterback, it's not going to be looked at as a good draft. Even though if you just getting a lot of guys that are rotational guys, you get 3-4 guys that are on your team for an extended period of time, they're solid rotational pieces. Hey, a lot of times you're going to take that in the draft class. But that's not going to cover up the stench if Mendoza is not great. That's why it has to be Mendoza being great or another guy that turns into a high-level player. Like, we can forgive the Cleve Farrell draft because we ended up with Max Crosby. Had we not got Max Crosby, bro, that's one of the worst classes of all time. But the fact that we got Max Crosby out of that draft class, it covers up the stench of the reach of at 4 with Farrell. That's my point, is that if Mendoza is a bust, we need another guy that's a high-level impact player. The most likely candidate is Jermont McCoy if he's healthy. And so that's why I say this draft class will likely hinge on those two guys.
Yeah, man. I'm just looking at it from like, man, like I just want the Raiders to get a talented football team out there. Like, I want to see a stacked football team. I just haven't seen it since maybe early 2000s, that 02 team, and that was a team full of veterans. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a team where the Raiders actually drafted well and like made smart moves in free agency and just put together a great football team. Let alone put out it's hard, bro. There's only going to be a handful of quarterbacks that are going to be like, there's only going to be like what? There's Mahomes, Joe Burrow. There's going to be like a few quarterbacks that are going to be top 3, top 4, top 5, right? Yeah, then it's everybody else. But like what the Raiders can do is maybe give them a better chance at winning and maybe win a Super Bowl like the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts, is put out a great football team. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that's easy, but I think it's easier to do that than to find a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, and that's why I say even if Fernando Mendoza just turns into a solid NFL starter for a long time, this will be looked at as a good draft class because the threshold for a quarterback being a successful pick is lower. The fact that he's number 1 overall, it kind of puts him a little bit more of a spotlight on him. But like if he turns into like even like a Jared Goff, right? Like, and like Jared, and that might be saying too much because like people say what you want about Jared Goff. I think he was number 2 in the league in passing last year with Dan Campbell calling plays, right? So people would like to shit on Jared Goff. Jared Goff is legit, but let's say he turns into like just like a top like 8-ish, 7-ish, 8-ish quarterback. That's gonna be looked at as a good draft. Like you identified your guy at quarterback in the first round. Bam, that's good. But so my point is that like it depends on him being that. But if he's not that, then you need something else big later on. You need something else like
right,
a star level player.
Right. And I think where you're taking what I'm saying, you're saying that if the Raiders just get role players, I'm not just saying that. I think it's a combination. I mean, you get starters, you get role players, and obviously you're gonna have to hit on a player that's like pretty good, like maybe Pro Bowl level. Maybe that's Jamar McCoy. Maybe that's Stooks. Maybe that's Crawford. Maybe that's the next 4th round pick that we didn't even talk about is Mike Washington.
Yeah.
Who, I'm not gonna lie. Are you not a Mike Washington? Because you're the one who told me about Mike Washington. I was like, because this is just to give y'all some information. Like, Severe was the one that told me about Mike Washington early on as a running back the Raiders could possibly target that can fit in this running back room. I think this is during the season, right? And I'm like, during the season. So I'm like, oh, okay, explosive, big back. And then we get to the whole entire offseason and we're like, he's getting a little hype. So I'm like, you know what? He's probably going to get taken in like the 2nd or 3rd round, especially after that huge combine. We're like, oh man, like he's probably going to be the 2nd or 3rd running back taken, right? Yeah. He's there in the 4th. And I'm looking in the 4th. I'm like, man, if the Raiders could. And what did I say? I kept saying, I said, hey, if Mike Washington somehow, some way can get to the 4th round. And the thing is, I didn't even know that was going to happen. But if somehow, some way he was going to be there in the 4th, I would pull the trigger. And you were like, yeah, I'll do the same thing. Like we pull the trigger. But in the chat, you were like, I don't know. I don't know about Mike Washington.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I worry about, and I'm thinking about like last year's offense. Like in this year's offense, and that's why I didn't take into account, because like the thing about Mike Washington is, he doesn't have a lot of wiggle. He's like a one-cut runner, right? He's a straight line runner. He's like a big running back. He's like 6 foot something, 220 something pounds, 4.33. I think the 4.33 speed. He's not really not a lot of shiftiness there, which like that's not really his style.
It's fine. It's okay.
His vision isn't great, and his like feel isn't always the best. But but like I was saying in the chat, like that's what kind of gave me some pause. But then I remember we got Rick Dennison here. I remember what Rick Dennison did with Mike Anderson Jr. I remember what he did with Alendis Gary. I remember just the track record year after year of guys that if you have the right traits and you can be a one-cut runner, you can get north and south quickly. Like you can do that. And then I started watching some more of his tape and I saw a little bit better. Like I see him setting up some blocks at the 2nd level a little bit more. So I felt a little bit better about it. But just as an athlete, yeah. But I mean, I think just what he offers is like a perfect compliment to Ashton for what we want to do. Because Damon Claiborne was my guy, but what Kubiak seems like he wants to do is he wants like a true 2-back system, not like running back 1 and then like you're the backup. It sounds like he wants like running back 1, both of y'all.
Bro,
like,
hey, Severe, what did I tell you? And people were telling us that we need to calm down and not take what Kubiak said like seriously. You know what I mean? Genty's the guy or whatever the case may be. Yeah, Genty's the guy, but he's obviously emphasizing that number 2 spot. So that means that he wants a guy that legitimately can run the ball. Yeah. Once Genty, because if you look at our running back room before we even made any additions to it in the draft with Mike Washington, right? Yeah. Dylan Lobby, Chris Collier, like, is he going to even make it out of training camp? Is Dylan Lobby going to make it out of training camp?
I think he might be gone. Chris Collier might be gone already, actually.
Oh, did they get rid of him? I mean, I don't know.
He might be gone. I got to check. He might be gone already. I forget. They made some moves, so we got to check. And then look, like it's going to be like a 50, 35 and well, this is my math. 50, 35 and like 15 split situation where it's like it'll be Ashton Genty gonna probably get like half the carries, maybe a little bit more than half. Mike Washington gonna probably get like a little more than a third, and then we're gonna have like probably a third back, whether that be him or that be somebody else.
That's another good pickup too.
Get in there and get some carries as well. So, but it's gonna be closer to 50-50 than people realize.
Yeah, we'll see. Because if you look at the running back situation last year with Seattle, it might be similar to that, the split between their running back crew.
Yeah.
I think they're starting the starter. I think he got like over 200 plus carries, and then you got like the next guy getting 150 plus carries. And guess what? Last year, how many carries did Mike Washington? I think the most carries that Mike Washington ever got was like maybe 200, 180.
Yeah.
So that's kind of right in his lane. That's what he's like that. He's comfortable with that. That's what I'm saying. So he could easily come in there and be productive at that spot. So I love the pick. I like the pick that they identified and they traded up to go get him too. And it tells you a lot about look, the Raiders' identity. They want to run the football.
Exactly.
And it's kind of reason why I was like, man, maybe they need to grab like a blocking tight end at some point. But the way the draft worked, all the blocking tight ends went in the second round, third round. It was crazy. Like there's no way the Raiders. Yeah. I mean, I would have never picked a blocking tight end in the third or second round. That's crazy. But
yeah, I'm not doing it either. But that's what So look, also here it is right here. So Kenneth Walker, he rushed 221 times for 1,027 yards. And Zach Charbonnet rushed 184 times.
Boom.
For 730. So we're saying it's gonna be and then AJ Barner got some rushes in there. George Halani got some in there as well. So that's what I'm saying. It's it's gonna be close. It's gonna be closer to a 50-50 split than people realize. It's
yeah. And they want to keep the running backs fresh, and obviously Genty's a starter, but and I think Washington too has to prove to the coaching staff that he could take on that responsibility. So it's going to be interesting to see if they add a veteran in the room, because everybody in that room is either in their first or second year, pretty much. I mean, Dylan Lobby's been there for 3 years, but that's not a guy that I would trust to. I mean, at this point, I mean, we'll see. I mean, but like I said, I feel a lot better with Mike Washington. And Genty now, the offense is kind of now you got Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Okay, we got a little bit of the identity there. It's just the question now is who's the starting wide receivers? You know what I mean? But hey, look, like I said, not every position could be addressed in the offseason. So I'm it is what it is. I think everybody wanted to do it this year, but if Mendoza's barely going to play this year, that's the plan, and they're just going to roll out Kirk Cousins, and then eventually Mendoza comes in the game and get some snaps and get some reps in, then you could tell the plan next year, they're going to be getting receivers left and right. They're going to get weapons around Mendoza. You could tell that's the plan. Hopefully.
We don't. We know. Look, we don't. I thought that was a plan this year. To kind of start that process early. But obviously, they felt the value of this draft was elsewhere. So we'll see what them doing. We never know. Because we went into this offseason thinking D tackle, wide receiver, bam, got to do it. It's a must.
Man, I'm intrigued about this defense, bro. The defense right now is kind of interesting. I want to see how. There's a lot of questions because obviously you got Robert Leonard, first year DC, and then there's a lot of moving parts as far as we see the talent on paper, but how does it come together? Who's going to step up? We know Max is going to be Max no matter what. Nakobe Dean is a good player in his own right. Obviously, Quay Walker. How the Raiders are going to use Quay Walker? Are they going to have him out in coverage? Are they going to be blitzing him? You know what I mean? You were telling me Green Bay fans were talking about they should have had him going after the quarterback more. Do the Raiders have him going after the quarterback more a little bit? So I don't know. It just seems like the Raiders defense has become a little. Now it's night and day difference from last year.
Oh yeah, talent level
bro,
is much better.
Most talent that I've seen on the Raiders defense.
And you got much more athleticism in the secondary with McCoy and Stokes, and Porter, Stooks.
Bro, this is the most talent on the Raiders defense that I've seen. I'm telling you, I'm going back to early 2000s. I'm telling you, I've never seen this much talent on the Raiders defense. Because think about it. Like, all right, you got Stukes, talented player in his own right. You can plug and play. Boom, that's a talented player you just drafted. Okay, cool. Then you got Max. You got Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye, whatever you want to think about him. You know, he was a former first-round pick, great against the run. Can they unlock him? We'll see. Then you got Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker.
Cool with that sign.
I know you. Adam Butler's your guy. Then you got like basically a rotation of run stop and D tackles. I don't know. It just, and then you talk about the secondary. You're like, okay, Jeremy Chin, Palomar, I like him in the box. You know, I don't like him out there playing at deep safety. You put Stukes there. Now you got Teron Johnson. Is he healthy? That's a question mark. Can he stay healthy? But he's a good player in his own right. Then you got Stokes, who's been solid. But he got to stay healthy too, because he's, you know. But he was healthy last year.
Last year he did. Last year, yeah. So.
But then you got McCoy. You got Darian Porter. It's like, damn, bro. Like,
yeah, got some youth there. The D-Cam is good as gone, man.
Yeah, no, he's gone. I'm not tripping. This is the most talent I've seen on Raiders defense like ever. Arguably. We got to see him play out, but it's just so many players that I'm like, damn, like this dude, there's something here. Oh, there's something here. Like there's a lot of pieces there. I mean, you could probably argue there's not a lot of depth at like linebacker, maybe.
Yeah.
Like linebacker.
Yeah. It's Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. Then you got Lindenberg and Eichenberg.
Because if Nakobe Dean gets hurt, it's like, oh damn, like we're screwed. You know what I mean? Like we don't know who's the next guy up to really kind of like hold down the fort. Like they don't have to be Nakobe Dean, but like hold it down. It's like I don't know if we have that, but that's how you know it's a rebuild. It's not gonna be perfect, but the Raiders
we're probably more 4-2-5 than anything at that point.
Yeah, and that's why maybe a guy like Caden McDonald, his position becomes a little bit more devalued, a little bit like, well, we don't have to take a nose tackle because, you know what I mean? It's not like we're gonna be.
But Caden can play in front though. That's the thing. Like it's not like he has to be like a nose tackle and just front. He can play in the even front.
Right. But you know they went a different direction. But they go McCoy. They end up grabbing Dalton Johnson, the other safety. You're not high on him. I mean, I wanted Jalen Kilgore. I wanted Jalen Kilgore.
Talk about disgusted. I was disgusted.
And, you know, I'm not mad at it though. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at Dalton Johnson. It's another guy that's played a whole bunch of. It's 5th round pick, by the way. A guy that's basically played a whole bunch of special teams. Played pretty much all of the positions in the secondary except outside corner. So there's versatility. And then we're gonna get to notable quotable. I thought that was interesting, but I did want Jalen Kilgore right there because I was like, bro, like just take it, just swing. Come on, I don't know why man. And I know he ended up going to the Bills like 2 picks later. Who else is on the board? I think there's somebody else.
Like Zakee Wheatley go right after we took somebody took Zakee Wheatley right after. When did Zakee Wheatley go?
He might have went in the 5th or 4th. I think he might have been in the 5th. Zakee Wheatley kind of went late too, but that's because he didn't test well. He really didn't test.
Did he go right after Dalton Johnson? I think did he go to pick after Dalton Johnson?
I wanted Harold Landry too out of LSU. That was another guy I wanted.
Okay.
Not Harold Landry. Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins. I wanted him, and he was there, but the Raiders end up like going a different direction. But so they end up getting Dalton Johnson. They also get they got the corner from Cal.
I like that pick. Hezekiah Masters. I like Hezekiah Masters a lot as a pick. It was good. This is a good place for him. You know, he's good size for a corner. He's like a little bit on the thin side, like 180, but he is a guy. We talk about like, willingness, or we talk about Stoops, like willingness to come up and play in the run game. Hezekiah Masters, like, not only was he willing, like he did a good job. As a boundary guy in the run game at Cal. Also got a lot of ball production. I think he was either, if he didn't lead the nation, he was tied for the lead in the nation in pass breakups this past year. So he's a guy that got his hands on the football a lot. A longer corner, kind of question maybe a little bit of his athleticism. Not the twitchiest guy, but just a super consistent, technically sound cornerback that that gets ball production. So in the 5th round, I'm cool on that, especially looking at what was left on the board. Like it wasn't really anything left on the board that I really wanted. There were some running backs, but we had already kind of taken a running back. There were some receivers, but I was like, at this point, bro, it's like none of the receivers at that point. I was like, are they gonna be better than Naylor? No, something like, bro.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, you know what? Take the best player, build the cornerback room some more. Decam, we don't know what he is. Get some depth out there at cornerback.
Right.
Cool.
And another thing for Dalton Johnson, he's also a ball hawk too. He had some ball projection, especially I think he had like 4 or 5 interceptions last year. He had 2 interceptions. I think he had 1 interception that Cincy game. I was watching. Speaking of Sorsby, we'll talk about Sorsby a little bit later. But I was watching that Cincy game. He had an interception. He caused another interception that game too. So he was a guy that flashed while watching the game. I didn't know it was him until after. I was like, oh man, that's the same safety that was making plays that game. So, and that kind of put my eyes on the Arizona secondary. Then you got the Traydon Stukes and guys on that defense. But hey, look, it's a 5th round pick. You can argue like they could have went in a lot of different directions, but I'm not.
Yeah.
They obviously had an emphasis on upgrading the secondary. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They wanted to upgrade the defense, but specifically the secondary. They wanted to add some depth, some talent, and they went ahead and did that. And then after that, they went and got your favorite receiver out of Oregon.
At that point, bro.
Well, hey, look, he gives you.
I was checked out at that point. I was just like, yeah, whatever. After the Dalton Johnson pick, I was like, and then the Hezekiah Masters, okay, cool. And then there's Dixon. I was like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. But and then Brandon Cleveland kind of like rounded out the first, the 7th round, last pick.
I actually kind of like Brandon Cleveland. He's a younger Thomas Booker, basically. A little bit more upside than Thomas Booker. Oh, so he doesn't you don't even project him to be like a nose type. He's more of a 3 technique. You see him? Thomas Booker basically played nose last year. That's what Thomas Booker is. Thomas Booker don't offer you nothing as a pass rusher. That's the thing. He's offering you nothing as a pass rusher either.
He's just a run stopping type of player. You put him
exactly.
Yeah, but he's not a nose. He's not a nose though.
He's not a true nose tackle. No. Yeah. But the thing about Cleveland, he's in the same body type. If you look at like. Kind of like Adam, oh no, man, maybe not Adam Butler, but Gary Smith, JJ Pegues. They're all this kind of squatty bodies, like 6'1", 6'2", 320-ish, 330-ish guys. So they're all in that same kind of mode. Not going to offer you a lot in terms of pass rush, but solid. Hold the point of attack. Good hand. Like good hand technique. Like violent hands. Like that's basically what all those guys are. JJ Pegues offers you a little bit more. He's a little bit more athletic than both those other guys, but the same build.
Yeah. So right now it's going to be a rotation of players that they're probably going to throw in an obvious like run stopping situations where they got to come in and like stop the run or whatever. So you got JJ Pegues. You mentioned. Hopefully, Brandon Cleveland. These are guys we got. Right now, we hope that they make the team, but there's a possible chance that like some of these guys are not going to make the team. Because last year, what happened? You know what I mean? Like a couple of guys didn't make the team. It happens. But hopefully they do. I mean, we need depth there. But yeah, man. To me, I like the draft. I like the idea of trying to upgrade the defense and adding some depth. I didn't look. If you're gonna ask me, did I expect it to go this way? No, because I thought they were gonna address like the receiver position. I thought they were gonna probably grab certain guys that were on the board when I was watching it. And I was like, man, Pregnon's on the board. You got some guys like there were some guys that I like at some point in the draft. And I'm like, are they gonna go this direction? But they end up going a completely different direction. So, but they did grab Stukes in the 2nd. That was a guy I liked. Mike Washington was a guy that I liked. Obviously, everybody's going to like Jamar McCoy, like top 10 player, top 10 talent, that you get in the 4th round. It's just injury concerns, but that was a perfect spot to get him. And then everybody else is kind of like wait and see where they fit. I mean, Trey Zoon is a guy that I like them after the fact. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see the value in them. And then everybody else is kind of like wait and see. Like I can see it. I see what they're trying to do here. Like even Malik Benson. There are some other guys that you probably could say, well, hey, maybe they could have went a different directions. And we're talking about the 6th round, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But he gives you special teams value. And I think shout out to TDL Marcus. I think he compared him to, and I was watching him a little bit. He does kind of like run like him. Nelson Aguilar, Malik Benson.
Yeah, I guess. Nelson Aguilar was a dog at USC, man. It's like,
I'm not saying.
Nelson Aguilar was a monster.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, man. But the good thing is you grab a player that can give you special teams value. He can find a way to make the team, and that's how you make the team. Like if you're gonna be the 5th, 4th receiver,
Derek Young better watch out. Derek Young better. His roster spot is in.
Oh my god. Oh man. We appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Yeah, hey man, I'm telling you, Stooks at 4, Dalton at 5, man. Like maybe the Raiders they on to something here, man. Maybe they feel like they could do something with. All right, we'll see. Laki Tasi switched to nose. Yeah, I don't know. That's like one of those Hail Mary. I'm not really.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's intriguing. Like he's big, athletic, like freak of nature, I guess. But like, I'm not. I have no expectations. I hope if it turns out great, like it might be a Cinderella story. But the thing is though, our coaches there got to be great.
Yeah.
Because think about what was it? The starting left tackle, right tackle that was a former 7th round pick for the Eagles.
Yeah, Joey Mailata, same situation. And he's an international pathway player, former rugby guy.
But the reason why that worked out too, part of the reason, he had the talent too. But
Jeff Stoutland.
So we better have that. Whoever's, you know what I'm saying? Like they have to make sure they bring out the best out of him and have a plan for him to be successful and hope for the best. But he's changing positions again. Like I think he started on the defensive line, then they move him to offensive line, and now he's back to defensive line. So that's like not good.
It's not good. That's not good. I mean, but the thing is that it could work out, because I was pissed off when they moved him to offense last year, but in hindsight, maybe because he's a guy that never played football before, only played rugby, so maybe letting him play a little bit on offense, he gets a little bit of exposure to how guys are going to attack him because he has experience doing it on the other side of the football. So maybe it's a situation where it kind of rounds out his game a little bit more. It gives him a little better depth of understanding of how the game is going to be played, how teams are going to approach, trying to block a guy like him. So maybe it ends up kind of helping him out in the long run. And he's like, as a specimen of an athlete, like he's a freak of nature. He's a freak of nature, crazy size for the defensive tackle position. He's super athletic because he played rugby. When you play rugby, bro, you got to be like all over the place. Like it's not not on the line or like you're running up and down the field. So he's a guy that has that kind of experience doing that. So putting him in a setting where you can say, hey, you know what? Hey, you go attack. And that's a lot easier than trying to have a guy like that, like go backwards and block and mirror somebody else. Just saying, like, bro, there's a guy in front of you. Get past that guy in front of you. Like, that's your job. Get past that guy in front of you. Damn near by any means necessary. You let a guy like that with those kind of traits just do that. There's no guarantee it'll work because obviously there is some technique involved. I mean, there's a lot of technique involved with it too, and understanding the angles and understanding how teams are going to try to block you and they'll fucking try to trap you and do stuff like that. So you gotta be aware of all that stuff. But just in terms of just raw athleticism and raw traits, there's some potential. There's a lot of potential there to be mined.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Like I said, I don't really have like expectations, but maybe he was the reason why they didn't go after Cade McDonald. I mean, maybe.
If they let that fire everybody in the building. That was the reason. Like, we're not going to drive Cade McDonald. We got this rugby player.
Nah, man, I'm good with Stooks, man. I'm good with Stooks. But overall, man, like if we're just looking at this offseason now, like now that the draft is complete, maybe they might add a player or two before training camp. Maybe you would think maybe at wide receiver, they grab a receiver that's out there possibly, or maybe some other position. They add a
Stephon did.
Stephon. Hell nah.
Newly acquitted. Stephon did.
No, man. Hell no. That is a no, man. Not especially in Vegas too. In Vegas, like, man.
No, we're not testing him at all, bro. You gotta be. They look New England. You think that would be like the safest place in America for him? And they was like, "No, we good."
Yeah. No, I don't see that happening. But now that, like, you know, we've seen free agency, the draft is come and gone. Now at this point, they might grab a player that may be a veteran at a certain position groups, maybe running back, maybe at a defensive line. If there's a D tackle out there, I know DJ Reader. I don't know if you've seen that signing. The Giants end up signing him to like a 2-year deal. They picked him up. Juwan Jennings. Someone in the chat was saying Juwan Jennings. Finn says Juwan Jennings possibly, but I'm like,
The 49ers need receivers, and they're like, well, they needed receivers, not anymore, but they were cool off Juwan Jennings for his price tag. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing too.
If it's like a vet minimum, I'd take a flyer on it.
I'll do it, but then at the same time, like, I kind of want to see, like, hey, just what do we have in the room? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want no excuses. Like, let's see what Jack Besh can do. Let's see what Thornton can do. Let's see what Trey Tucker on his last year. Okay, cool. Jalen Nailor, you just signed him to a contract. Like, let them get a role. Let's roll it out. I know it's not the best. We know what it is. We know what it is. My expectations are not high. I don't think anybody's expectations are high with the receiver room. They shouldn't be.
No.
And it's going to be an emphasis next offseason. It's obvious.
Yeah. Then, but we got some UDFA guys that are intriguing. Cole Roberts, EJ Williams. Both guys are pretty intriguing.
Yep.
So you're not obviously not counting on those guys, but we got them in the building. Let's see what they can do. Obviously EJ Williams has some experience with Fernando Mendoza. Cole Roberts was super productive at BYU. So let's see what he's also an older prospect as well. So let's see what these guys can do in the Kubiak scheme. And with the guy like Kirk Cousins and a guy like Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, bro, I'm excited about this run game. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see how Clint Kubiak futures Bowers, because if anybody's doing fantasy football this year, he should be the number 1 pick or top 3. You know what I mean? He should be like somewhere in the top, like, because he is going to get the football. They're going to find a way to get him the football. Like, think JSN, but at tight end. You know what I mean? They're going to find a way to give him the ball. He's going to have a huge year because just on the strength of Brock Bowers is always going to be open. He's always going to be productive. But now you combine it with a creative offensive coordinator or offensive-minded coach like Clint Kubiak. Man, to me, like, that's gonna be something that I'm gonna look forward to watch. And then obviously, to me, the biggest intrigue on this football team is the defense. Like I said earlier, bro, the defense. Like, if we're top 10, if we can get top 20 this year, I'll be good with that. But I feel like
year one, yeah.
But
what a nice trajectory. I'm good with that.
But I feel like there's potential to be more. There's potential to be more.
If Stooks turns out, if Stooks can be like a really, really good player, which, like you said, like, there's nothing that says he can't be a really good player. He has the maturity, he has the athleticism. That'll be wild, bro. Bro, look, I'll start watching rugby, right? I just start watching rugby. I was like, no, hey, it's been nice, the Raiders. Appreciate you, Pharaoh. I'm just gonna watch rugby now, man. See what I can. But nah, man, like, if Stooks can turn into a good player, and these free agent signings, if they all work out, I think we have an opportunity to be a really good deal. And if Jermon McCoy, if he's healthy and starts on the outside, bro.
Hey, Smoke, I know how you feel, bro. Remember, hey, you've been watching this for a minute. Remember last year? Remember last year. I remember last year. Remember our tone about the Raiders and the moves that they made, the offseason. It was just like, yeah, this is disgusting. But this year, I'm not saying the Raiders are going to go to the playoffs. All I'm saying is it's going to be way more fun to watch football on Sundays.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we finally got some young talent to be like, oh, because now we got hope. Okay, this guy can get better. This guy can get better. This guy, like, we got to coach it. Like, I feel like it just feels a lot better than in years past, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like, just look at the offseason we had. Now we got something to look forward as far as the defense. The only thing I'll say is the receivers. Like I said, my expectation is low. We'll see. I know AB said I'm wondering if Naylor is Trey Tucker's replacement option if he doesn't pan out this year. I think he'll. Well, I mean, Tucker's on his last year of his deal. I think he's probably gonna be the starter. Tucker's gonna be starter, and then maybe Naylor. Would you say Naylor on the other side? Jalen Naylor and Tucker.
Yeah, that's the most likely.
Unless Besh does something spectacular, has a spectacular. But I'm like kind of like I don't know.
Unless Best was taking some horse steroids, this is like bro, he don't got it for the outside, bro. He's not an outside receiver. He have to play like a Y and be a big slot receiver. That's what he'll have to play. So
bro, top 15, but it's just, bro, they have Max. You gave Max. This is the most talent that Max has ever played with. This is the most. He's never played with this much talent.
It's possible. We're not banking on it. Top 15. It's possible, though.
It's just the question marks. That's the only thing that I'll give, shout out to my guy Smoke was like, I believe when I see it. One thing I will say, there is question marks.
I'm right there with you, Smoke.
It's I'm thinking if they can get top 20, man, that's the potential. They can be top 20. I'm not gonna say top 15 because there's so many. The question marks are like, all right, what does the defensive line look like? What does the secondary look like? What does Rob Leonard at DC look like? Patrick Graham was a seasoned vet at DC. You know what I mean? We knew what to expect from him. Like he, as much as some people were like, there's some people that were high on him, some people that are really not that high on Patrick Graham because he kind of had like that bend but don't break type of defense. But the reality is he had to do that. Like he had to do bend but don't break because it's not like we had like elite players on that side of the football. But we'll see. We'll see what Rob Leonard does. I think everybody's saying that he's a Mike McDonald disciple, so maybe it's going to be a similar defense to what Mike McDonald has been doing. Hopefully, it's the same type of defense. I mean, like if he's able to be that type of DC, well, that'd be nice. But yeah, I think early on, those are the things that intrigue me: is the run game, Brock Bowers getting the football, and with Clint Kubiak kind of cooking up plays, and obviously just the defense overall. Like that to me is the biggest intrigue with this football team. That being said, man, if you haven't already, make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. But we're not done. We are not done. It's that time.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Man, flag on the play, man. What we got this year? What we got this week, Severe?
Flag on the play. We talked about. We drafted the quarterback in the first round. And we hit on the quarterback position just a little bit. But there is a quarterback that's really, really going through it right now. And it's your boy. It's Pharaoh's boy. It's just, look, I just want y'all to know.
Oh, man.
This is Pharaoh's guy, all right? This is everything we talk about after this, we're referring to Pharaoh's guy.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
Man, quarterback. And look, man, I want to know the quarterback we're talking about is Brendan Sorsby. Obviously, he was the quarterback last year for Cincinnati. He took a pretty nice NIL deal this year between $5 and $6 million to go play at Texas Tech. I don't know what the status of the NIL deal is because he's probably going to lose his eligibility for gambling. And before we really get into the story, want to know how bad Brendan Sorsby's luck is? That Brendan Sorsby was the quarterback for Indiana the year before Cignetti got there. And rather than stick it out and see what Cignetti brought to the table, he transferred to Cincinnati. So he missed out on a college football playoff season and a national championship season. And there's nothing saying that he couldn't have been the same guy or been just as productive as those other guys.
No. I think he was there at 2022. Because he
was there the year before Cignetti got there.
Oh, but yeah, before Cignetti got there, yeah.
He was there the year before, yeah. He was,
Yeah.
and he transferred out when Cignetti got hired.
Yeah.
So he missed out. So the season that Rourke had, that could have been him.
Yeah.
The season that Mendoza had, potentially could have been him.
Yeah.
So
the
run of bad luck for Sorsby continued. He's too busy gambling.
When Cignetti said Google me, he left the room. He was like,
exactly.
He's like, Google me. Like, who's this guy? He just left.
Oh, look.
Nah, man. Definitely flag on a play on Sorsby. To be honest with you, I think his career could be in jeopardy. Like, not just college football career. I'm talking about like his NFL. Like, he has the talent. Like, he has the talent to go to the supplemental draft and get drafted. He has a talent to be drafted. Like, if he would have got drafted in the first round this year. Especially with this especially in this draft class. Yeah. Like, he would have easily.
Quarterback class, yeah. He was the second or third quarterback in this class for sure.
You know what I'm saying? From a talent and traits perspective. But now you're talking about gambling and how serious that is in sports, and he's a quarterback. All eyes are on him. Like, he is the quarterback. That he has to be the most.
It was thousands of bets, right? It was like
it was
thousands of bets.
He was betting on like pitch counts. He was betting on like strikes and like, oh man, it was crazy. But no, I just recently was reading this article by Charles Robinson. Y'all check it out. Where Charles Robinson talked to executives around the league, from talent evaluators, from like top league execs. Not really talking about the talent of Sorsby and how he projects in the NFL, more so of like how this situation can affect his eligibility in college, but also his outlook in the NFL. And what they were saying is like the NFL might block him. They might not even allow him to even go into the supplemental draft. They might like deny it, but then there might be some issues with that too as well, because the NFL could be held liable for that, and there might be some lawsuits. So it might be a situation where he can go through the supplemental draft. He'll get picked up by a team at some point in the draft, maybe later probably later in like 6th or 7th round pick, just based off his like the outlook. Like, you don't know what's going to happen with him. You don't know what his outlook is in the future as far as playing in the league. But like the way the NFL works is like they will suspend you. Think Terrell Pryor. If y'all remember Terrell Pryor, he came in with some off-field issues in college where he accepted some money, I believe, and back then that's when players couldn't really accept money, and the NFL, I think, held him. They went ahead and like held him liable for that. I think they suspended him for like 4 games, 4 to 6 games.
4 games, yeah, which was terrible because remember, I think Jim Tressel left maybe a year before, and he had some NCAA stuff that went on, and he got like no punishment at all.
Yeah. So I thought that was like interesting that the NFL just took upon themselves to do that, and he wasn't even playing in the NFL. So what gives them the right to do that?
I don't think anything at all, to be honest with you. I don't think anything at all. So, I mean, I don't think that the NFL will block him because the NFL is already under scrutiny because they think that the way the NFL draft and free agency works, I think there was discussion. I think this stems back from like the whole Maurice Claret thing, where like it violates like antitrust laws and stuff like that, where like you can't force people to go through this process if they want to work for an employer or something like that. So like they're able to beat that. So they don't want a whole nother case opening up, especially like you don't know how new litigation will work. So I don't think they'll block them, but they have other means. They won't like outright block them. They'll just shadow block them. They'll just do that. They'll do stuff like that, or they'll just discourage teams from picking them up.
No, and if I don't, and to be honest with you, they don't even have to go that far. They could have a team could go pick them up, but once going back to the article I was telling you about, they were saying that the best course of action for the NFL, they might just end up allowing him to hit the supplemental draft. Let's say if he gets, if his eligibility runs out, or not even runs out, like he's banned from college after, the gambling situation. He goes into the supplemental draft. He gets drafted to the team. That's when the NFL will have more control of the situation, meaning that they can go ahead and suspend him, because the way the league looks at gambling, they're super strict. What, didn't Calvin really get suspended for like a year or two?
He missed a year. Yeah, he missed a year.
At least a year. So like that might be this. That could possibly be this scenario for Sorsby, depending on how bad this is. They're investigating this, and that's another thing that came up too, is that teams are going to investigate everything. They're going to investigate things that don't come into the public eye. They're going to go and look and see what the NCAA was able to find in their investigation that didn't come out to the media. So they're going to find every little thing about this whole situation to make them feel comfortable with bringing him on the team. If they don't, then to be honest with you, he's like gambling at quarterback, and he's one of the, he's a guy that has some potential.
Thousands of bets, not betting thousands of dollars, thousands of bets.
and I wanted him to come to Vegas, and I wanted him to come to Vegas.
Oh my God. Oh my God, bro! This dude would be in the it's casino. It's slot machines everywhere. This dude would be in the line at 7-Eleven just sweating, I can't even look up. But what's crazy is that I was reading that because of the nature of the bet, that there's a very strong possibility that he may be under FBI investigation because if he bet if he bet on college football at all, even if it's on games that he didn't play in, if he bet on college football at all, that could automatically trigger an FBI investigation. Damn. So, and when FBI starts investigating you, everybody got something they don't want somebody to know about. So the FBI start going through your dressers and checking your phone records and doing stuff like that, bro. Ain't no telling what will come out of that investigation, man. So it could be end up all bad for him.
I mean, if the FBI is in it, then to quote the great,
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
He's cooked, bro. He done. He done, man. He's done,
but
bro.
I want to say that like
I think Adrian
when Josh Gordon came to the league, he had to go to the supplemental draft, and Sorsby would be like the biggest names to go into the supplemental draft, or probably I think Maurice Claret ended up having to go that route. I think
Josh Gordon, Terrell Pryor.
Josh Gordon and Terrell Pryor. Those are the four guys.
Yeah.
I don't think, and obviously Maurice Claret, that's a completely separate case because of his circumstances. Terrell Pryor, we know, got suspended 4 games. I don't remember what happened with Josh Gordon. Did Josh Gordon get suspended? I know subsequently he got suspended over and over again. But when he first came into the league, I don't recall if he got. And what's crazy that
I just know when he came into the league, he
dominated, bro. For Cleveland, he was dominating like that. So I don't remember if he missed time when he first came into the league though. I don't recall that.
Yeah, man. So definitely flag on a play in Sorsby, man. It sucks, man, because that was a guy that I was looking forward to watch and seeing if he could take that next step in his progression as far as in his career. Because I wasn't say like he was a perfect product. A lot of his game was boomer bust. You know what I mean? Boomer bust. Obviously had some good to great athleticism at the quarterback position. Was fun to watch. Great arm or very good arm, however way you want to rank it. He had flick of the wrist, and you could tell like he had some arm talent. But
he has a very good arm. Mendoza has a good arm. Sorsby has a very good arm. Look, I was gonna clip it. Because I meant that when Spytek was when he was doing like the presser after they picked Mendoza in the first round, they do the post draft presser. He's like, yeah, man, I think Mendoza has a good arm. I was like, well, I told you, Pharaoh, it's a good arm.
Bro, hey, Smoke, man, have you seen Broner lately?
He's out of shape now, but like if he's working with, like, I don't know if he's the dude he's working with as a fighter or not, but like as a coach, he'll be good at it. He'll be good if but he gotta stay on a straight and narrow.
Yeah, but he has some issues, bro. He has some demons.
He got some issues. He got some.
It's
demons
sad,
for sure.
bro.
But
He
like,
got some demons.
you could tell like boxing. You could tell like boxing is his passion, because just seeing him coaching, working with dudes with the pads, or just like shadow boxing, teaching them stuff. Like you can see, like, man, he know what he's talking about. And like when he teaches the dude something and they get it, you can see his face light up. You can see the fighter's face light up. So like, I love to see it for him. But yeah, he got to get his life together.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because there's some stuff going around on the internet, man. The internet is not a friendly place, man. It's some cold-blooded stuff going around right now.
Cold-blooded.
Man, it's crazy. But is that the only flag on the play this week?
I mean, the honorable mention is Brandon Ayuk. like, where in the world is Brandon Ayuk? The 49ers are trying to get in contact.
I got to get the
him.
wham music. I got to get that. I guess a soundbite, but wham. You know what I mean? I got to get that, bro.
The 49ers and other teams have been trying to get in contact with Brandon Ayuk, because the 49ers want to get in contact with him. And other teams were thinking about potentially trading for him, and nobody can get in contact with Brandon Ayuk, bro.
Bro, it's
crazy. Like, that's like the biggest fall from grace like I can think of in recent
Speaking
years.
about the 49ers, their draft was kind of funky. Like they took Striblin in the second round.
It's not true, yeah. Which is, I mean, like I said, that's one of those. Look, like,
don't give an excuse. Don't give an excuse, because you know that was a guy that was gonna be taken later on. Like everybody, consensus, whatever how you want to feel about it. But that was my point earlier. Is like we could say consensus, but like the NFL is gonna have their own big board.
Yeah.
And how they feel like teams value they're gonna do their due diligence and how the other teams feel about a prospect that they like. So that kind of tells them like, hey, you know what? We can't wait until the second or third round or whatever case may be. But that was surprising, bro. Striblin taken in the second round, I was like over Denzel.
I was thinking third or fourth, you know. So like, hey, look. Stooks and Striblin, man. Stooks and Striblin.
man. But
Stooks, I can understand going in a second. I didn't like it, but I can understand it. I mean, Striblin, I can see how you can make an argument because just his traits, you know, you can see it, but I think that was way higher than I thought he was going to go.
Yeah, well, you know what's happening in San Francisco, right? They have a great coach and a coach that technically has personnel control, because he was hired first and then he was paired with John Lynch. So John Lynch, and a lot of these guys that they're drafting, I'm sure the coaching staff is super high on, you know, Shanahan is probably high on, but like, it's kind of like John Gruden syndrome a little bit. Like, I know how to use this player. I can coach this player up. He's going to be a perfect fit in the system, and whatever the case may be. But the last few drafts, it's kind of been, I don't know, for the 49ers, it's kind of been ugly, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been tough, but that's 49ers. Who cares? Who cares about the 49ers? But yeah, now we're not done yet, man. We have notable quotables. This is where we play a quote, we let it play, and we react to it, and we have a conversation about it. We're gonna move it along. We're not gonna dwell too much. Man, we had to get into that draft, man. I just wanted to get into it, man. It's been a minute. So Severe, what are we looking at as our first notable quotable?
We can go with Stooks. You know, Stooks talking about the recycling bin we drafted in the 5th round. Now he talking about his fellow Arizona Wildcat, Dalton Johnson, and this could give you a little bit of insight as to why the Raiders felt comfortable pulling the trigger on a guy like Dalton Johnson in the 5th, even though, you know, there was some perceived better talent at the position in that round.
So,
the opportunity to ask this to Dalton, but not to you, just what it's like for you two to be reunited here on the NFL level.
Yeah, it's honestly like a dream come true. I mean, I couldn't have imagined, you know, coming to reaching this point in my career and getting to do it with my best friend in the world. So, you know, it's like we were coming into this brand new thing, you know, joining a brand new team, but I'm doing it with, you know, my closest friend in the world, and it was a surreal moment, you know, when they picked him, and you know, we were screaming on the phone together. So we're super happy to be here, and we're ready to get to work.
How big is that for as far as communication on the field as well? Because you guys know each other so well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we got to a point, you know, playing at Arizona where I didn't even have to say anything. You know, we had been in the same defense for a couple of years, and I could just look over and know he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, you know, now we're speaking in different language, but it's football at the end of the day, and I know exactly how he operates. And you know, we've been sitting in each other's hotel rooms, going over the tape and stuff. So, you know, we're gonna get it right, and we're gonna make sure that we bring our best every.
A lot of pause-worthy stuff in there, but the main thing, the main thing that I got from there, is early in the offseason, right? The Raiders were, you know, they had a big free agency. They picked up a few players on defense, specifically Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, one of their big free agent signings at linebacker. And one of the big emphasis on those signings was that the fact that they knew each other. They played with each other in Georgia. So there's a certain level of kind of like the chemistry that they're going to be playing with because they know how to communicate with each other and be successful on the football field because there's a little bit of chemistry. They know how to play with each other since their days at Georgia. Now, I don't know if the Raiders did this on purpose, but you draft a safety in the second round who obviously is versatile. You know, we talked about how versatile he is. A guy that we don't have currently on the roster. We now have a deep free safety, a guy that we can move around, possibly play nickel, possibly play at corner, outside corner. There's a lot of different possibilities. They can move him around. And then they draft his teammate in a second, another ball hawk that was on that Arizona defense. Yeah. And you could hear him talk about man, I don't even have to say nothing. We know, we're speaking in a whole completely different language. We know we're on the same page. So are the Raiders kind of looking at it hey, we're going to get players that are familiar with each other because there's going to be a lot that this defense is going to probably have to learn on the fly, and being able to know what the other person is thinking and where they're being on the same page. They're getting guys that are have a lot of chemistry. Can you see that might have been a strategy for them? Maybe get some players that are familiar with each other, especially when you're picking up so many new players in the offseason. It's not like the Raiders, they had so many guys on 1-year deals. So was their strategy maybe all right, hey, we're gonna get Quay Walker. Oh, so we're gonna get Nakobe Dean. Was that, or just by chance that they were high on both of them?
I think it's by chance. I think some of it maybe, you want to have that chemistry with guys, but the thing is unless you plan on duplicating the roles that those guys played and the coverages and the schemes they were in, that chemistry, it won't necessarily help you immediately. Now, obviously there's some familiarity there with each other. So once they get comfortable in the new scheme they're in, then some of that, latent chemistry will come into play where it's that trust factor there, and you kind of know what he's going to be doing, and you kind of know his tendencies, and he knows yours. So it may come into play then. But like I said, they're going to be playing in a different defense, so it's going to be a different dynamic, and we don't know where these guys are going to play. There's a strong possibility that Stoops may just outright beat Teron Johnson, and he just might be the nickel, and because that's where he played the bulk of his snaps at Arizona. And it could be a possibility where in that case, maybe Dalton Johnson is just a free safety at that point, and we have Chin and Palomar out there that's a scenario where that happened. So we kind of don't know where they're going to be playing. So whether or not their chemistry comes into play, there remains to be seen. But I'm sure because when we picked Dalton Johnson, I hated the pick. I was like, what are we doing? And then I got to thinking okay, you know what? Maybe Spytech was doing his due diligence, and we drafted Stooks in the second round. He went to Stooks and was who's a guy on that Arizona team that you think we should draft? Who's a guy that's underrated? Maybe people aren't talking about that you think could be a baller in the league. And maybe he said Dalton Johnson. Then I saw the interview. He was like, Dalton Johnson's my best friend. I'm like, oh, this is, like, he probably just like gave him the homie hookup. Like, yeah, this is dude's the best player you've ever seen in your life. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know, but well, it remains to be seen.
It's a fifth-round pick. It's a fifth-round pick.
It's fifth-round.
Fifth-round pick.
Yeah, but look, the fifth-round picks, the Raiders have not been my favorite picks as of late. Shout out to my guy Smoke.
What round did Hunter Renfrow get drafted?
He might have been fifth. Was he fifth?
I think he was the fifth. That might have been.
He might have been fifth.
In recent memory, probably been the most productive fifth-round pick.
Yeah,
that we've had. Because that draft, I think Max went in the fourth. Yeah, and then Hunter Renfrow went in the fifth. So I'm trying to think of like other fifth-round picks. But we're talking about my guy Smoke said earlier. He said he's wondering who your favorite player this year will be, Dalton Johnson and Tommy Eichenberg.
Yeah, that's what I said, man. Those fifth-round picks, man.
Hey, man, I'm not out on Dalton Johnson, man. I'm not out on him, man. I'm
not out. Like, I think he'll be, at the very least, I think he'll be like a special teams contributor.
Special teams, he got some speed, has some ball hawk ability. Like he has versatility, play a lot of the spots in the secondary. Will he be a contributor year one? I don't know. But like you could tell that like the Raiders value versatility at the safety spots. So maybe that might be telling to what they're trying to run on defense. Especially when, you hear Stooks talk about like, man, like I don't really have to say anything. We'll be on the same page. Like, and then you think about Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, and they kind of have that same level of like knowing each other. And it's like, all right, what are the Raiders building over here, man? Like, and there was a reason. I remember you made a point. I think you made this point before where you're talking about like with the D tackle from that the Raiders missed out on, or they could have drafted Jalen Carter, but he went to the perfect place.
Yeah.
When it came to going to the Eagles, not just because it's the Eagles and their organization, it's because how many former teammates,
Georgia guys.
He went in there, fit in, like, and just, hit the ground running. I mean, it hasn't been perfect, but like, they won a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
They won a Super Bowl. Like, hey, he was part of a Super Bowl winning team. One of the best young D tackles in the game. Like, we to this day we still thinking about like, man, what could have been if we got Jalen Carter, but it was never gonna happen. It was never gonna happen. But that's all it didn't come.
People were telling me that Tyree was gonna, I am gonna miss those conversations every offseason.
Oh, is this the year that Tyree takes the next?
This is the year. This is the year. Oh my God.
Yeah, man. But do we have another notable quotable?
Notable quotable. I sent it to you on X. Spytech talking about. I'm gonna resend it. As a matter of fact, Spytech talking about the wide receivers for the Raiders, and maybe this kind of played into why we didn't draft a guy. At any point until late, till the pick before our last pick.
K. Adams.
Yep.
Receivers. Let's take a look at the receiver situation. Are we done? Can I convince you into adding a couple of veterans out there? What's going on at receiver?
I like our receiver room. I think probably people are going to, roll their eyes. And I mean, everybody loves receivers. My kids, this is a question I get from my kids. Dad, like, can we have 15 receivers on the roster? We live in the fantasy football world, receiver. I value receivers. I do. I really do. But I love Trey Tucker, and he's a good player. And we're excited about Jalen Naylor. And we drafted Jack Bech in the second last year. We have belief in Jack. We drafted Dante Thornton in the fourth last year. We believe in him. I'm excited with Malik Benson.
It would have been hella funny if he said, if he got, he said, we drafted Jack Bech. We believe in him in the second. And then we drafted Dante Thornton in the fourth. Anyways, we drafted. I thought he was just gonna say we drafted Dante Thornton in the fourth and didn't say anything, but I guess
say we believe in him.
Yeah, but let me just go ahead and let this play.
We're not going to force anything either. We have a very thorough evaluation of every player at every position, and it never goes the way you want it to go, Kay. And
I just love the idea of your kids. I love the idea of your kids being like, Keenan Allen, Dad, sit down. Let's talk about that. It's hilarious. By the way, Brock Bowers, young Spytex, he's a number one. Like he can do okay.
Yeah, add him to that last graphic that you just put out there, and maybe we get everybody feel better. But listen, we're never going to stop churning the roster. We're not going to devalue any position, but we're not going to force any position either. And there's a lot of tough decisions that get made, and we're in the team building exercise here too. We're not in just talent acquisition, and we've got to be mindful of every position room in our team and the right way to build a football team. And it so happens I went to Michigan, and so that's at my core a little bit too, right? 21, 22 personnel. I mean, I'd love to have 3 fullbacks on this roster. Nobody ever asks me why we only have 1 fullback. But I'm excited about our guys. They're good guys. They work hard. We're going to put a good system in place that highlights what they do well, and we'll see if anybody else comes available that we think makes our room better.
Are we done adding receivers?
Yeah, to me, it's a lot of like, you know, he's gonna say all the right things, bro. He's not gonna he's not gonna throw the receiver room under the bus. He knows what it is. I just look at it like they had a plan to just upgrade the defense, and you know, once you get after the first round, once you get to certain rounds, they probably stacked the board and they probably had similar grades on certain players, and they were like, all right, do you want to go here? Or do you want to go here? You want to go here? Or you want to go here? I mean, you can make an argument they could have went Caden McDonald, but then like, hey, look. You know, Max coming back, got some players on defense. Maybe that they looked at like, hey, look, they were higher on Stooks. We don't have a guy like Stooks, a playmaker, a ball hawk, a guy that's versatile. What we're doing, what Rob Leonard is going to be doing on defense this year is going to run a Mike McDonald type defense. We need some versatile safeties that can move up and down. Like that could have been a heavy emphasis. So we don't know. That's what they did. And look at the whole draft. We look at the whole draft. They literally were like, we're going to upgrade this secondary. We're going to upgrade his defense while also addressing offensive line. And we're going to throw in a running back. Like, I'm not mad at that. And then you get Jamar McCoy. Jamar McCoy makes it all come together. Like that's what's going to make it a home run. If he ends up playing and playing well, it's like this is going to be a big time draft for Spytech. But as far as the receiver position, no one should have any expectations from this receiver room. Just wait until next year until they can get like great talent. Now, like I hope that Naylor can show like he could be a decent player. Hopefully Besh looks better. But all I'm looking for guys to show like, hey, can they be role players? Can they be contributors? But the legit like number one or legit like weapons, speed, like, you know what I mean? Like weapons that we would want on the outside. I think that's going to come next year.
We'll see if a guy's available.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, we talk about.
But there's some weapons coming out this year. There's some pieces. There's some. I mean, as of right now, because
exactly, because that's the argument everybody said about the quarterback position is, oh, you don't know what's going on, you know. And I'll argue there's a lot more quarterbacks going to be coming out next year that are like, you can say are legit top level guys and are wide receivers. Wide receivers, you know, obviously Jeremiah Smith and Coleman are the 2 guys that immediately come to mind. But you know, like this.
But let me ask you this real quick, not to cut you off. If Coleman is on the board and Colin, was it Smith? Simmons from Texas is on the board, who are you taking? I'm telling you, bro.
I'm taking Coleman. I'm reluctantly taking Coleman. If we had fucking done something at receiver this year, then I'm taking Colin Simmons all day because he's the better talent. But you know, like you can't just throw Fernando Mendoza out there with a bunch of midgets and, you know, like a free agent 3rd receiver that you picked up from Minnesota, like, and a tight end, you know, like that's like, and to say, all right, bro, winning some games, like, you know, so like you gotta, and that's my whole thing was like, if we're going to draft a quarterback number 1 overall, especially a guy like him, you got to support him. And so next year has to be the year we support him. We can't keep pushing that off down the road and saying like, you know, all right, well, the board fell how it fell, and we address receiver whenever we address it, because if that's the case, you get into a point where you never address it. So then it's a persistent need. And then, you know, if Fernando Mendoza isn't everything that Fernando Mendoza can or could be, then people say, well, the Raiders never drafted a receiver. Like, how you expect them to be the number 1? You never give them any weapons. So that's why you got to support the guy, man. You can't just throw him out there with,
All right, so
water pistol.
All right, so this is how you can possibly, because the Raiders are probably going to have some cap. Well, will they have some cap space next year? They probably have some cap space. We'll see. But I'm looking at the 2027 free agents. I'm looking way ahead, right? And I'm looking at the receiver position that's available. Pickens, as of right now, he's under a franchise. Most likely, he's probably going to stay in Dallas. They might give him a contract, but if let's say if they just sign him to which they did, they signed him to a franchise. They franchised him for 1 year, and they let him hit free agency in his second next year.
Pickens would destroy Mendoza's soul, bro.
I know.
You can't bring Pickens over here.
I know.
You got to be like a Devontae Smith type of guy. You can't be like an A.J. Brown type of receiver. You got to be like a clean cut, like, you know.
Devontae's a free agent. That would have been nice, but Devontae, he burned his bridges. He's done.
Devontae Adams. No, not Devontae. I mean like Devontae Smith.
Yeah, Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams will be a free agent next year. Chris Godwin will be a free agent.
That would be okay. Chris Godwin, that's a good personality type. He's a little bit older, kind of injury prone the last few years, but they might let him walk because, you know, they got Jalen McMillan. And this is what I was talking about. This is why I knew I was right about who I was right about, because that franchise has been really good at drafting receivers. Chris Godwin, Mike Edwins, and Emeka Ekuba. And who did they take at wide receiver this past year or this last draft? Ted Hurst.
Yeah, they did. But to replace an aging receiving corps.
Yeah, or you know, fill the void that left behind by Mike Evans and potentially be the guy, you know, to fill out the wide receiver room after they let Chris Godwin walk next year, because Chris Godwin's making a lot of money.
Yeah. So Christian Watson is also a free agent, kind of an interesting talent at wide receiver. He's going to be 20,
big body athletic guy.
Big body athletic guy, but injuries has been a big concern. So the contract would be interesting with him. Like, it probably wouldn't be. I mean, he would have to ball out this year in order for a team to really take it. Yeah. Drake London.
Oh yeah, he ain't going nowhere though.
Yeah, I know. Atlanta probably not gonna let him go. But Drake London is a free agent. So as of right now, he hasn't signed a new deal or anything like that. But Drake London is projected to be a free agent next year. Then you got Chris Olave, also a free agent. So that could be another interesting guy.
They might let him walk. A little bit of injury history, so that might be why they let him walk. If they do let him walk. And they just picked up Jordan Tyson, so interesting.
Yeah. But after that, it's just a bunch of, like, you know, just a lot of, like, guys that it's not going to really stop you from drafting a receiver.
But Jalen Nailor stopped us and stopped us in our tracks.
Man. Man. But you know what? His contract, technically speaking, it was reasonable.
It's not. No, his contract. Well, it's expensive for what we thought he would get, but with the salary cap going up this year, likely probably going up next year too. It's not a bad contract.
Well, like, to put it this way, number 2 receivers make at least $20 million a year.
Exactly. Yeah. His contract wasn't bad.
You know, so there's a possible chance they might address wide receiver in free agency, but damn, it's gonna be tough, man. Because I want us to double down in the trenches again, man, a little bit. Like, whether that's offensive line or even get another pass rusher, but it might be tough, man, because I think you got to develop. You can't mess.
That's why that Keiron Crawford pick looks so ass, bro. That's why it looks, because that was a cool spot to take a receiver.
I know.
You look at what the Ravens did. The Ravens got Elijah Surratt and Jacoby Lane.
Bro, if they trade Max,
If they trade Max,
then you're saying, because, bro, I'm telling you, bro, you 2 first-round picks.
Hey.
Then I'm like, all right.
If this fool is Spy Tech, it's might be the best the Max trade didn't go through. I'm telling you, bro, if this fool would have drafted Treydon Stukes at 14, you'll never see me again, Pharaoh.
No, he would have drafted. I bet you would have drafted Ruben Bain at 14.
That'd have been crazy. That'd have been sick. That'd have been crazy. It would be tough to. I mean, that's a tough position to put Ruben Bain in. But, you know, if you felt he was the best talent on the board, you got to do it. It
would have been Ruben Bain or Iona Vega, the guard.
I wouldn't have been mad at Vega. I wouldn't have been mad at Vega. That's a tough position to put Ruben Bain in if you be the pick that replaced Max Crosby, because they're always going to, like, because the next year they'll be like, Max Crosby had 12.5 sacks. What did you do, Ruben Bain? 4? Oh, it's like, it's tough to put him in that position.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have been mad at Ruben Bain at 14, or Vega. Vega at 14 would have been nice. Who? That's actually where he went. He went. Vega went to Vega alone went to the Ravens. So I wouldn't have been mad at that for sure. But and then you go into the second round. Now you could just you can do whatever.
Yeah. Vega Ione instead of Zoom, then you can probably grab a receiver instead of Zoom. You can keep Stooks and grab a receiver instead of Zoom, possibly.
Yeah, but hey, man, that's what it is, man. Rebuild, man. You got to be strategic. Sometimes you win some. Sometimes you got to be patient and wait, and that's what the Raiders got to do at wide receiver. But we're not done yet. We got do we have another notable quotable?
No, that was the last notable.
That was the last one.
We got what's real, what's not.
Okay.
So what's real, what's not? If anybody's not familiar with this, it's that I'll make a statement, and then you guys will tell me whether that's real or whether it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And the statement for this week is more than half of the Raiders' draft picks will start a game this year. It's offense and defense. I don't have no special teams nonsense. So more than half. We had 10 draft picks. More than half of the Raiders. So it got to be 6 or more. So more than half of the Raiders draft
will
picks
start a game
here. So it means you depending on Dalton Johnson and Kieran Crawford, or is that Hezekiah Masses possibly? Maybe he impresses.
So it got to be more than 5. It can't be 5.
Yeah, it'd be more than 5.
Oof. Yeah, I'm gonna say not real. Oh, you know what?
Look, Mendoza.
I'm gonna say real. I'm gonna say real because look, Mendoza is obviously gonna start at least one game. Like, there's no way he's not gonna play one game. And they don't make the playoffs, and they're like struggling because they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna win a lot of games next year. So you got Mendoza, right?
We got the best receiver core in the league, bro. You don't think we gonna make playoffs?
Man, hey, that's why you draft Mendoza, man. He's gonna make it happen. He's gonna make it work. So then you got Stooks. He's gonna start.
For sure, start.
Does Crawford start at some point? So let's look at who's in front of him. Max
Kuntz, right now.
Max. I'm just listening out the edge. Max, Kuntz, Kwity Paye, and then with Crawford would be the fourth guy. Damn, we would have injuries. So I'm not.
Yeah, depending on where you play. Depending on where you play Quay.
Exactly. Quay can get into the equation where you're like, okay, that might take some snaps away. So I'm not going to say Crawford's going to start. There's too many guys in front of him. They would have to have injuries would have to ravage that room like crazy. But I'll say Zune. I think he can start. To start one game like this potential, right? And then you got.
Started one.
Say it again.
Caleb started one last year.
Exactly, started one game, so that's 3. McCoy 4. Mike Washington. 5.
Think he will start?
I'm just saying, let's say if Genty gets hurt, like one game, like he misses a game, or I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean at the running back position, that
because you're saying one game.
Actually not missing any games last year. That's kind of like an outlier, damn near. Because usually running backs are good to miss at least 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah. So
and he took a lot of hits last year.
Yeah.
You know?
And Mike Washington is kind of the favorite to be the number 2 guy. So all right, and he just said one game. So I'm gonna say, all right, that's 5. We're at 5.
Yeah.
And then now this is where we get it's a little tricky here. After Mike Washington, it was Dalton Johnson.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna start. Yeah, he's not gonna start.
Then it was Hezekiah, which I doubt. But like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if Jeremiah starts, Hezekiah never starts. That's the thing. If Jeremiah starts, Hezekiah, because Hezekiah will be behind both those guys, behind Stokes, behind Jermod, and behind Darian Porter. He'll be for sure above.
Which is a good problem for the Raiders to have. Like when you're saying like that's depth.
And look,
it's called depth.
But Pete, they may prefer to put Stokes out there at corner, as if push comes to shove, and just have since they got a little depth at safety now.
What like put them at outside corner?
They might say just put them at outside corner since they got depth at safety now, and instead of putting a guy like Hezekiah out there, maybe put Stokes out there. Let Teron Johnson play the nickel, Dalton Johnson play
the safety. That's the thing. That's like, see, the versatility is crazy.
Yeah, like he played it before.
Yeah. But after that, I can't say for sure. I'm stuck at 5. Because I don't see maybe Benson maybe.
Because disgusting. But look, you never know. This receiver room is ass. So
just because the receiver room is just trash. But but that's a stretch though. That's a stretch. Like that he does have like he has people in front of him, but it's just like the people. It's just not like the people in front of him are not like hella like locked in to be. So, and then Brennan Cleveland, you know what I mean? He just is he gonna make the team? Is he gonna get any of these snaps? Like it's just like we don't know. So yeah, I'm stuck at 5. So I'm gonna say not real. Not real.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Not real. It'll take a season like last year where we're just ravaged by injuries. And think about it, like I was looking at what was I looking at? Just talking about like the number of games missed total. And like the Raiders had one of the lowest in terms of like missed games due to injury in the league last year, I want to say. So we were just super injured at particular spots. Like we weren't ravaged overall by injury, but just at certain spots where like offensive line was real bad.
Let me ask you this real quick. Out of all the guys, because we're stuck at 5, out of all the guys, so starting with Crawford and then going to Dalton Johnson and then everybody else after that was drafted after, who's most likely to start at least one game?
So not counting Zoon or
no, those guys we already determined like there's a possibility we could see a road to them getting on the field and starting one time at least once during the season. I think it's Dalton.
Yeah, but I was gonna say honestly, I'd feel more comfortable starting Dalton Johnson at safety than I would starting Kieran Crawford at edge, which is disgusting.
Well, it's not even about comfort. It's just that like. Look who's in front of him. It's too many established guys. Like it's too many established guys in front of him. Like he would have.
I just feel more comfortable with Dalton Johnson playing at an NFL. I feel more comfortable with Dalton Johnson playing in an NFL game than I do with Kieran Crawford. Just be honest.
All right, well, hey man.
And I don't really like Dalton Johnson, but I just so that tells you what I think about Kieran Crawford.
Damn. Oh man, so is that the last what's real, what's not?
Yeah,
that's it, man. All right, man. Hey, we appreciate what it coming through. Great conversation. The return of 50-50 show. We got Around the Shield later this week. Make sure to tune in. Hopefully we get a guest and we get to chop it up some more about what's going on with the Raiders, latest and greatest, all that good stuff. We just want to come here, man, and chop it up, man. After the draft, like, hey, look, the off season is not over. It's not over yet. Obviously, there's going to be some time to look at. I think there's going to be some veteran, some OTAs coming up in a second.
Yeah,
I think later this month because I know they had recently had rookie minicamp, and I think maybe later this month, early June, they might have OTAs. So this is where the entire football team gets together.
Yeah, OTAs are, I want to say the 23rd, I believe. I think either 21st or the 23rd, something like that.
Oh, so you said the 23rd?
I believe so. Either 21st or 23rd.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, so of this month.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, hey, look, there's going to be plenty of time to like kind of analyze some of the guys that we feel like are going to be key contributors like this year, man. It's going to be, man, I think this is going to be a fun year, man. This is out of all the years, I feel like this year is going to at least be a more interesting football team compared to in years past, where it's just like, man, like they didn't make any really substantial moves in the offseason, or you didn't like the head coach hire, or you just know that it was just a lot of now it just feels like the Raiders are kind of headed in the right direction. But look, we gotta like my guy Smoke said earlier, man, it's still a wait and see. There's still a lot of question marks that need to be answered, but I have a lot more. It's more intriguing to watch this team on Sunday. Like it's like even if let's say the Raiders don't even start the season out like well, I'm still gonna be paying attention to them because I'm like, hey, I think this team could get better. I want to see this team develop because it's gonna be one of those deals where we're part of what the question or the statement that you put out and some of the guys starting is because like these guys get on a football field to develop, to get some experience, and that's going to be intriguing to see them get more time. The Stooks, I think we can plug him in and see him starting, but some of the other guys, does Zune win the job outright in training camp? We'll see. I don't know if that might be a tough uphill battle because you got guys that have been like basically preparing for this moment. You got Meredith who's a seasoned vet, and then you got obviously Caleb Rogers, who seems like has a great work ethic. Like he's been in the building, been in the office. Like he wants that spot. He wants to start. Yeah. Seems like
you've been getting a lot of coverage for like the Raiders media people. Have been like they've been talking to him and like following him around and stuff. So they cut him. That would be obviously the Raiders coaching staff has nothing to do with that, but I'd be surprised if they cut him.
For me, I would want Grant to start at tackle. Like that's like if that happens, like that would be intriguing, and then we can see what it looks like for 1 year. And if it's kind of like shaky or it's not good at all, then hey, we already know the first whoever's the best offensive tackle on the board, man. The Raiders need to draft that guy for sure. Colin Simmons would be nice, but Dylan Stewart would be nice, but hey. That offensive tackle, man, that would bring everything together for sure. But man, hey, man, Severe, man, let the people know where they can find you, what to look forward to, all that good stuff.
You guys know what it is, man. The Severe Raider here on YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, X, IG, True Social, Kick, Twitch, everywhere. The Severe Raider, man. Holla at your boy. Tuesdays and Thursdays, man, my guy PharoahNFL, the 50-50 show and Around the Shield. Sundays and Wednesdays. My guy Chris will Protect the Shield and 805 Raider in the Raider War Room.
My guy Salvador says UDFA Tokyo Toe will be your sixth player. Ooh,
we just drafted.
Hey, he threw a little curveball though. He threw a curveball.
He went outside the rules because I think Cole Roberts might make the team too. So the UDFA guy out of BYU, and there's another cornerback, Afford, out of Kennesaw State.
Okay.
And as a safety, Lafayette. Like those are some guys that could potentially make the team as UDFAs. But I was just I don't know if they'll start. But those
Hemby?
guys
Did you mention Roman Hemby as well?
Oh, and Hemby. I think Hemby makes the roster for sure too.
Yeah,
I think he makes the roster. I think he beats out Lobby, to be honest with you. The only thing that was keeping Lobby on the roster was kick return.
How many running backs are they keeping?
I'm trying to think how many they keep last year. Last year they kept 4, but I don't know if they had a fullback in Seattle though, because now we got Hayward as fullback. So would that be the fourth guy?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, is it? So they're gonna go pretty young at running back then, if that's the case. If they roll with obviously Genty's then he's gonna be starter, so that's their guy. But then Mike Washington, to be honest with you, I like him. And you mentioned this earlier, like I've heard him speak. Like you could tell, like this dude feels highly about himself. Like he's saying things like, "Hey, my goal is to get to the Hall of Fame. I'm trying to be great. I'm trying to
gold jacket.
I want to get a gold jacket." I'm like, oh, and the thing is, when you hear a player talk like that, and then you see like the physical talent, like they were literally like, I think probably arguably the most athletic player in the draft, if you just look at his testing numbers.
Rash. Yeah, he was one of them for sure.
Yeah, and then so when you hear him talking, you're like, man, like,
oh no, Jeff Caldwell probably was.
Is there? Yeah, But Caldwell, is he a workout warrior? I don't know. Man.
He might be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm saying he's probably He may be a workout warrior. I forgot where he went to.
Chiefs.
Damn.
Didn't you?
They would do something like that.
I think you told me. I think you were telling me. Hold up. Let me see. Where did Jeff Caldwell?
I think it was the Chiefs. I want to say Chiefs had a hell of a draft, man. That's what I hated, the Chiefs having such a good draft.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to the Chiefs. Yeah, he was at UDFA.
Yeah.
They brought him as UDFA.
He probably chose where he wanted to go.
Yeah. Which is smart for him, go play with Mahomes, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know, man. Maybe Mahomes, obviously he's a great quarterback, so he might be able to, like, bring. But it just seemed like I didn't see that athleticism at Cincy at all. Like, I didn't, like, when he ran like almost a 4.2, like 4.3, 40. Whew, man, it's crazy.
Crazy athlete.
Better athlete than Dante Thornton. For all the people who are like talking Dante Thornton, saying, "Oh, he's
way better athlete."
Dante Thornton is the next Calvin Johnson. Like, he worked out better than. And it's funny, they were saying all that about Dante Thornton, but like, isn't Caldwell like 6'4", 6'5", and he ran? So is he like the next guy that ran that much and got? Well, actually, he got.
I believe so. He might have been just under. He might have been just 6'4". So I think it was 6'5" and up. They always say.
Oh, 6.
I don't know if he might.
No. But Dante Thornton, he got measured at just under 6'5".
Oh, he did. Oh, yep. Okay. Then Jeff Caldwell should be a guy. So Jeff Caldwell, I want to say, was 6'4".
So Caldwell was nah. Caldwell's legit 6'5", 6'5" and 3/8.
Oh, damn. Oh, they 6'5". He's 6'5.5" then. Okay, he's legit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the guy. Okay, damn.
His athleticism score was 99 on NFL.com. Yeah. His 4.31, 1.48, 10-yard split, 42-inch vertical, 11
split is insane, bro. That 10-yard split that's insane. That's crazy, man.
Damn, that'd be crazy if he like balls out in with the Chiefs.
I hope he don't, bro. I hate to wish bad on players, but I hope he don't, bro. I hope he don't. Bro.
Oh man.
I hope he don't, man. The Chiefs already, man. They got Mansour, they got Peter Woods, they got R. Mason Thomas. I'm just like, man.
Yeah, man.
That's what having a franchise quarterback allows you to do stuff like that. So hopefully. We got one in Mendoza, and that'll allow us to address those other positions, to kind of fill out a roster around him. He'll be the rock in the middle of that roster.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hold up. Did we get a super chat? I might have missed a super chat. Oh, man. Hey, my guy Smoke, man. I just seen your super chat, my guy, bro. Hey, I'm glad I caught it right before we was heading out, man, too. Appreciate the super chat, my guy. He says, hey, man, you guys are missed. Much love, y'all. Hey, man, appreciate you supporting the show as always, man. Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Hey, we love talking about the Raiders. Obviously, that's why we do it. We do this. We've been doing this weekly for a while now. So obviously, we're on a little mini hiatus, but we're back at it. Like Severe said earlier, man, we'll be back later this week around the Shield. Make sure to tune in this Thursday. Evenings, you already know. Just turn on the notifications. You'll be notified when we go live. But we'll be back at it next week as well with the 50/50 show. Make sure to subscribe to both our channels. And then, like, if anybody watching the replay, make sure to click on it. If you see that hype button, definitely click on the hype button as well as leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on the show, the conversation, all that good stuff, man. So, man. Hey, the Raiders, I know it's the offseason, and the offseason is the best time of the year to be a Raider fan, but, man, I do kind of feel good about some of the players that's on this team, man. Like, I can't wait to see them. And that's saying a lot because I didn't feel like this the last couple years, man. It's been tough. Where I'm just looking at the team, I'm like, man, I know we got Brock, but who's our quarterback? Who's our offensive coordinator? There was always something that would just make my stomach just like, ugh. Like, I can think about this, but then something is bringing me down to reality. But with this team, it's like, all right, we got some coaches. We got some, you know what I mean? We got some upside with coaching, and we got some upside with the players on the team. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the vision. You know, they went heavy on defense, and they're gonna let Kubiak kind of cook with his scheme on offense a little bit. So I think that was the plan right now. So I'm hoping it works out, especially the skill positions. The big season from Brock is needed. Big season from Ashton gonna probably be needed too. So, hey, our 2 last first-round picks outside of Mendoza, those guys. Brock's already delivered once. Ashton Genty, is your turn.
Oh man, I know we heading out of here, but I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, what happens if Mike Washington is so like unbelievable right out the gate? He just overshadows Genty. Right. On that note, we out of here, man.